I'm still all right. So that's not happening. I'm listening. I'm not. I'm still having my breakfast. And then he says, deformed genitalia, and you go, all right. The spoon may be down. My chewing has slowed. You know what I mean? And then, and then it says bacterial infection, life-threatening. That's the other thing. It's not even just because bacterial infection, you're just like, I don't even know if bacteria is real. Who cares? You know, like whatever.
Bacteria
You know what I
is a
mean?
conspiracy theory. It's a
Yeah,
left-wing
I don't.
conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen it. Whatever. I don't know. You know, I'm not walking around with with a microscope looking at all over my body. You know, I'm not.
It's
I
penis
never.
inspection day for Harvey Weinstein's
Yeah,
deformed
you know. Yeah.
ganglion bacterial infection gangrene.
It's just his whole genitalia looks like Zoidberg.
Yeah, well,
You
that's
know,
what I
that's
would
all it is.
imagine. And truth be told, I think the story that I read was very
Mm-hmm.
similar to what you read. But for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason, and we were just talking about this, the playing telephone with your mind.
Oh, by the way, I'm not even done.
Oh,
There's
oh
more.
no. Uh,
Yeah.
Also, we see Thundercock in the chat. The first time I saw him naked, I thought he was deformed or intersex. I don't know if he was a burn victim, but it would make sense. He does not have testicles, and it appears on
Oh,
Weinstein.
yeah, dude. That's what I was just about. Okay,
So,
so.
but hold on, hold on. I remember all this from way back when, but I've thought about Harvey Weinstein's gangrene penis so many times that it has deformed, like it has screwed up that memory to where
Mm-hmm.
it got so bad that his genitals literally slid down his leg and fell onto the floor, right? Like that's how I remember Harvey Weinstein's penis. I actually
That's
sent you a
fantastic.
picture of it on your Telegram if you
You did?
if you want to take a look. It's actually a court
Oh, no,
drawing
come on.
because they weren't filming it, but there was a court drawing of
Right.
Harvey Weinstein's
Oh, stop. Oh,
naked
dude.
body. Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Somebody drew
That
it.
is-
Somebody had to draw Harvey Weinstein's naked body, and maybe we'll add that to the Discord.
Right, well, just
for
think
those
about
of
this.
you
So this
who,
is a drawing of the like, you
Right.
understand?
well, it's
I
not a
want
drawing
people-
of a drawing. It's a drawing of a picture of Harvey. Wait, how on earth did they get a naked picture of Harvey
Yeah,
Weinstein?
that's the
I
thing.
wonder?
Is did they force him to? Is this a Michael Jackson thing where they were like, we have to take a picture of this guy because we have to match the wiener? You
How
know?
did Harvey Weinstein? Do you think Harvey Weinstein's hygiene and diet probably contributed to some degree, like how his penis ended up
Tom,
becoming?
I-
Because
I
those
want
words
to-
all sound like
Tom.
things that would occur underneath the belly folds of a fat man, Jerry.
Tom, I want you to recall, okay, since we are about truth and accuracy
Well,
here
naturally,
at
yeah.
You Had Me at Bigfoot, I want you to recall that I had mentioned to you at some time in the past, on a separate Harvey Weinstein mention, that he has become better mentally
Well,
in
yeah, because he
jail.
stopped eating M&Ms, right?
That's right. So, to connect the two, the infection can strike middle-aged men and diabetics. Weinstein 68 is both. When bacteria enters through a cut or scratch in the genitals, which don't ask me how that happened, I guess, and spreads through the bloodstream, some patients require skin grafts, which is why you would think he's a burn victim, but more extreme cases, such as Weinstein's, require an operation to remove the testicles.
Oh,
Yeah.
huh.
So, really, now here's the thing: are you a fan of Tom Green?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was back in his heyday, so like for the
Sure,
couple
sure.
months of the 1999 that
Yeah, yeah.
era. Yeah.
No, for sure. Well, I don't know if you know this. Tom Green and Harvey Weinstein had a bet going. Who could disgust a Hollywood actress more, you know? And so Tom Green said, well, I'm going to get cancer and lose one of my testicles and show my ex-wife Drew Barrymore. And he'll go, and then Harvey Weinstein said, I'm not even going to begin to tell you what I've done to Drew Barrymore, but what I am going to do is I'm going to
Remember
have both
E.T.?
I'm going to have both testicles removed and replace it with skin grafts of your cancer ball. And I was like,
Of
whoa.
Drew
holy
Barrymore.
shit.
If I recall correctly, he also
Of
used
Drew
some of Drew
Barrymore.
Barrymore's
That's
skin
right,
to
yeah.
replace the testicles.
Yes, that's right. Did I ever tell you, by the way, I was on the I was a caller on the Tom Green internet program?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it was when Ed Asner was on. I don't know if anybody could find it, but essentially Ed Asner was on, I don't even remember what he was promoting or if he was promoting anything.
He was just happened to be there.
Yeah, well, they have. Well, yeah. So here's how this works, right? If you wanted to get on the show, I'm giving you. I'm exposing the goddamn business. Anyway, so all you had to do, like, was to hit up the producers and be like, "Hey, I'd love to be a caller on the show," and they give you who the guests are ahead of time, and then you choose, and then you have to come up with questions that they screen. And so then, yeah. Now, first and foremost, I had done stand-up, because when you do stand-up, you get bored sometimes, doing all the same jokes at the same mics, and you're just like, a couple drinks, and you're like, this is fucking boring, and you decide to do something new. Well, one time, I decided to just literally do a Tom Green, like, troll using only Tom Green's name. So I went up on stage, and I was just like, yo, Tom Green. Tom Green.
Which is not much different than Tom Green's own stuff, right?
No, it's not. It's really, he is not good. Anyway, so so I do it, right? And I didn't know, because I was doing it sort of on a dare. I had come up with it backstage, and then my friends were just like, dude, you got to do that. I'm like, I don't know. And they go, well, but we'll buy you your next drink. I was like, sold, And my friend taped it without me knowing, and then tweeted it to Tom Green, who then retweeted it, and it was all this nice thing. Well, then my friend and I end up on the show as callers, and I was on one with the Ed Asner, and I called, and Ed Asner, I asked him, with all the voiceovers he did for comic book related cartoons and stuff, was he actually a fan, or was that just work for him? So then he gets to go on this diatribe that's finally not about Mary Tyler Moore Show, and and he says how he loved doing it, and that he was a comic book fan from when he was a kid, and then he said, yeah, I can't understand, for all these movies that are being made, why Plastic Man was never made. And I thought to and I'm still on the phone, and I go, well, I think it was, first of all, it was like a B movie quality. I'm pretty sure there was a shitty version of it. But I said to him, like, well, they always try to make like teams and stuff, and Plastic Man, to the uninitiated, is very similar to Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four. So it probably makes sense that they would just go with the team, sell the merchandise of both the individuals and the team in the movie. And he stops and he goes, Jerry, I know a lot of people who are in, I know people know, but I'm going to stop. But I know a lot of people in the state that you're in, specifically in the particular city that you're near. A lot of smart people there. My son is there. And I hope that my son, who's going to be a doctor, accidentally runs you over with his car because that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. And then he just tried to go off on me for the next 5 minutes about how I was skeptical about the viability of Plastic Man as a movie franchise.
I've never seen a Plastic Man movie, so like,
dude, that's what I'm
saying. Does that tell you about your foresight versus his?
They made Howard the Duck and not Plastic Man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, they're making a Hot Wheels movie right now, Jerry.
Right. The Angry Birds,
Yeah, and they still haven't. Where's Plastic Man? Like, let's get him on the phone. Let's get him on our show.
let's get actually Plastic Man on the phone. Let's just do that.
Well, I meant the other guy, the guy Eric Asner. Is that what he said?
Oh, Ed Asner.
Asner. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, just for frame of reference, for those who don't know on for who's listening, Ed Asner was he was on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, but more recently you would know him from being the voice of the old man on Up. The Pixar movie.
Ed Asner, is he the... I need to look him up, because I feel like I know who he is. I just never committed his name to memory. And here I'm looking at a picture of Harvey Weinstein's...
I'm still looking at Harvey Weinstein, too, and this is like the worst.
Eisner? That sounds like a Jew name. Can I tell you? I know who you're talking about. Okay, yeah. He's He almost looks like Bob Hoskins.
Yes.
But anyways,
Yeah, he does.
if you could have made jokes about like, hey, remember that time you were on Mario? So I do want to tell a story that will, that'll get a kick. I'm sure like our white nationalist audience, our anti-Semitic audience rather, will get a kick out of this. I had to do a. I think I'm just drunk enough to tell this story. Two funny things happened. I told a joke.
By the way, wait, I'm sorry.
No,
One second. Just a reflection of the chat. I love how out of all the chat, like all the comments that could be made about Ed Asner's legendary career. Oh, was that story? That story was funny. I like Tom Green. Any of it, right?
Mike.
Instead, just Mike. Oh, he's dead now.
Mike, well, he's just like, the thing about Mike is he's just like very matter of fact. Like, that's Canada for you, right? Like,
no, yeah,
there's no funny business up there. You know,
No.
there if something is, if there's like some, there's no gray area in Canada. It's either black or it's white, right?
Yep.
But no, here's two Jewish stories for.
Or it's Saskatchewan, okay?
We have to make sure that we accommodate our anti-Semitic audience, and
that's fair.
And so the first one was I went for my ketamine treatment a couple weeks ago, which I have on Friday. I'm very excited about my ketamine treatment. But I went a couple weeks ago, and I told this story to my very Jewish doctor. It was a comedian, right? Because it's a joke that I heard from a comedian who's a Jewish comedian, and he was kind of picking on Christians, but he was also picking on Jews a little bit. You know how Jews do. They'll throw a little bit of like anti-Semitism into their joke, then they'll really lay into somebody else, right?
Yeah. It's that common trick. And by the way, you don't have to be. It's this great thing. People, okay. I don't want to go back to going like, I'm not going to go on a diatribe about like, oh, hey, this is what you learn when you do stand up or whatever it is. Like, because you could frankly do stand up and suck at it and you'll never learn it. So. This might have come from me conversationally for reasons I won't get into. Tom, I could tell you off air. I don't feel comfortable. But let's just say my upbringing, I had to talk my way out of a lot of shit or whatever. But so the key is always, that old phrase, compliment sandwich?
Right.
It's like it's a deviation of that where like you just go, hey, listen. Okay, so for me, for example, right, I could go, and I'm not talking to you, but let's say I'm talking to Harvey Weinstein. I'll go, listen, Harvey, over the last couple of years, I've gained weight too, man. I got little itty bitty man boobs. I'm up at least 50 pounds. I'm probably the most I've ever weighed. But you're also a behemoth, a fat fucking walrus who smells like chicken soup and feet.
Oh, man.
But like I said, I'm fat too, man. We all have things, you know what I mean? So it's that, it's that admission first. So then you soften the blow, like you're like, I'm opening up to you. Yeah, because
then they're like, oh, well, he's also doing something. He's also like kind of cutting himself down.
He's not perfect. He's not just telling me I'm whatever, and then you fucking lay it in.
And then you just repeat yourself.
And then I go, no, but me too though.
I'm speaking more to myself than I am you.
Yeah, look, I mean, I've had to tell myself the same shit, except not using the word fat fucking behemoth who smells like chicken soup and feet. That's more specific to you, but I've had also to chastise myself about my weight.
so that's I wish so that's what this Jewish comedian did. But so like I like my doctor. He's a funny guy, real cool guy. He's in charge of making sure I don't overdose on ketamine and have like an extremely terrible.
Careful with your jokes, Tom.
Right. But I, for whatever reason, in my infinite wisdom, thought it would be a good idea to tell him this really like, this joke. Not being a Jew myself, but like the thing is, my rationale at the time was I was like, well, the joke is picking on Christians or whatever. More than it is Jews, but like I could tell in that moment, I'm like, as soon as I said the part that was picking on Jews, he was not into it, right? Even though like I had and that's the funny thing, right? Because I'll tell you the joke. So this guy, a Jewish comedian, he goes over to Israel and he's taking a tour, and as he's on the bus, they're talking about, he's never been to Israel before and he wants to check it out, sees all the sights, hops on the bus, they're taking him around, and all of a sudden the dude says, here's where Jesus was baptized, right? And as they're walking around, and the comedian walks up to the tour guide, and he's like, are you Jewish? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, are you? And he's like, yeah, this is my first time here or whatever. He's like, I'm just checking it out. But I noticed you said something about Jesus, right? And he goes, yeah. He's like, this is a Christian tour, right? This is for Christians. And he's like, oh, I misunderstood. I thought this was like it's just like a historical tour or whatever. I didn't know it was a Christian tour. My bad. He's like, but you're Jewish and you're out here giving Christian tours. Like, what's up with that? And he's like, well, I go where the money is. And then the dude goes, well, then you obviously are Jewish. You weren't kidding. And, you know, and that was the part where, like, my doctor was like, very, like, distant, hitting the button to go into the room or whatever. But, like, and then I'm like, but the joke, the punchline of the joke was where it was, as they're on the bus, once he finds out this dude's a Jew, he, like, turns the tour into a ride that was like predominantly focused on him, a fellow Jew, where he's like, here, if you look to your left, you'll see the site where Jesus turned the water into wine, allegedly, you know, like, and he did that whole thing. And so, but we had gotten onto the conversation. It wasn't like I was like, hey, let me tell you this anti-Semitic joke. It was, we were talking about something else. We were talking about Israel and the site, because I'm doing an exegesis on Joshua class. And so that came up. And we were talking about some of the historical digs over in Israel, and that's when the joke came up or whatever.
Historical digs, as in like very nice pants.
Nice pantaloons that would be a historical dig. No, it would be like nice pantaloons, nerd. That's a historical dig, right? Because it's historical, and it's
about pants.
Yeah, and you're digging on somebody. So. I forget what the other anti-Semitic thing. What was the other thing that I was going to talk about that was anti-Semitic? What were we talking about before this? We were talking about Harvey Weinstein, obviously, right?
Right.
Ed Asner.
And then you said it looked like Bob. He looked like Bob Hoskins.
Like Bob Hoskins.
And then,
which is true.
I don't know.
Well, anyways, fuck it. That was one of if my
hey, listen, you can't use all your anti-Semitic. You can't use all your anti-Semitic bullets in one show. You know what I mean?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I like to just get them out of the way, because like I myself am not necessarily an anti-Semite. I am somebody who like. So my opinion on the Jews is a complicated one, right?
Oh, here we go. Boop. Wait, last week we got...
Where's Mel Gibson when you need him, right? So my opinion on the Jews is this, right? And this is from a theological background, right?
Oh, right. Can you do your cape thing so people understand?
You know, because I'm actually very close to finishing with my Master of Divinity. In a couple months I will be, as a matter of fact. But... Here's the thing. A lot of Jews, they talk about how they're God's chosen people. That's fine. That's whatever. That was the case back then. But Abraham, when he was promised a nation of people, God even said that your descendants will be as numerous as stars in the sky. Coincidentally, the number of people who have lived and died between then and now, assuming Abraham was alive, 5 to 7,000 years ago, whatever it was. Assuming that was the case, the number of stars in the Milky Way galaxy is exactly the same number as how many people who have lived and died, which is kind of like a weird coincidence. Really? But anyways, if you were to assume that there were going to be that many Jews, you would be mistaken. But, now I remember let me jot this down.
Oh, no.
Temple. I went to Temple this past week. But
like university?
No, the Jewish temple.
Yes,
so I'm going to be incredibly anti-Semitic here in a moment. But if you were to assume that the Jews were going to be that number, that would be like a pretty ridiculous claim. But if you all of a sudden were like, well, the entire population of the world could be Abraham's descendants, that would be more realistic, because those numbers are comparable. Now, what does that tell you? That everybody has had the opportunity to come to the Lord, who has come and gone at this point. So, and then later in the New Testament, it mentions something about everybody is from, you can pluck a seed or a flower from the seeds planted of Abraham's descendants or whatever. So the concept was that everybody is entitled to this gift, not just the Hebrews, the national Hebrews, right? Or the nation of Israel. It's not them. It's
or
everybody.
Even the Hebrew national hot dogs.
No,
which,
not
by the way,
not them
fantastic.
either. But they are really good. Yeah, there's no denying that. And they're kosher too. You can't beat that. But the whole concept is that
No,
anybody
you literally
can be,
can't beat it. There's a certain treatment you have to have of the animal. You can't beat it.
well, I was going to say, well, we could also make a joke probably about masturbation and the fact that hot
Oh,
dogs are
that,
phallic
yeah.
too. We could have gone that direction too. I'm glad you went
Mhm.
the other way with it, Jerry. But anyways, anybody can be God's chosen people is the concept, is the argument. So when
Okay.
people say, well, the Jews are the God's chosen people, well, no, they're not. They were at one time. They were God's chosen people in the beginning. However,
hmm
since then, times have changed. Anybody can be, even like after Abraham was promised
hmm
people, descendants that were as numerous as the stars. Even back then, it could have been anybody. But then, especially in the New Testament, when they say, well, Jews and Gentiles alike,
Mm.
they're saying that everybody, we want everybody to come together and become God's chosen people. So if ever a Jew comes and tells you that, you know, hey, I'm God's chosen people, well, maybe you were at one time, but no longer. And in fact, most Jews are not God's chosen people. Anyways,
Could you
I
also
digress.
imagine, by the way, if it really was like in the way you describe it, right? And I'm
Mhm.
paraphrasing. I was trying to keep up. I'm not as well versed. Correct me if I'm wrong. If Abraham, like you said, was promised as many as the stars are in the sky and all that kind of stuff. If it really were just the Jews, imagine how dark it would be outside at night. That's really scary. You know?
Yeah,
Like,
there's
that's
like 12 of them in the sky.
It's like 12 people. How do you even? Of course, you
oh,
found
forget
the
about. Or no, what is it? How do you even see when there's only that many stars? Come on,
dude.
Jerry.
That's where I was going. Of course, you use the North Star. You know where the North Star is to find shit. There's only 10 of them.
There's only 10 of them. All
stars.
you got is the one. You got the one, the North Star. You've got the South
one
Star.
over
You got
there.
the West Star and the East Star. Maybe one day, if you
Oh.
give us some grandchildren, maybe we end up with Northwest, Northeast, Southwest, and Southeast too. But I'm not going to get myself all hung up on that. But anyways, I went to Temple. Now this is the only funny part. I did enjoy Temple. I thought it was a pretty good. I mean, it was a fine service. I had to do it for a world religions class.
Okay.
But there was one part that I thought was really funny, and it's not funny, but I thought it was funny, right? And I want to
Clearly.
prepare. I want to prepare myself for this joke. I should have come more prepared. Okay, here we go. No, hold on. I need so there was a part of the service where they started talking about. Okay, perfect. Here we go. Where they started talking about all the people from the temple who have come and gone, like who have died, and in memoriam, kind of
okay.
like an in memoriam thing. But it was like for
So it's like the Oscars.
yeah, pretty much. It was exactly like that, which is like not a coincidence because just about everybody at the Oscars is Jewish, right?
I'm not trying to say anything.
Imagine if all the stars in the sky, that's what they thought they were talking about, was Hollywood. But anyways, they said we're gonna list off all the people who have died from the temple, family members of the
Of
temple.
AIDS. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
well, they wanted to remain in memory. It was a very beautiful thing, but all I could think about
okay.
in the midst of it was how all the names were Jewish, like very Jewish. You know what I mean? It wasn't like there wasn't a single Smith or a Miller or a Morgan, right? There was none of those.
Right.
It was all like this.
There's
it was
no
like
Johnson. You know,
right. It
just-
was like, hey, so here are, these are the people who have come and gone. We'd like to keep them in our memory. Jerry Hoffman, Marcus Abrams, Ethel and Rod Haddad, John Goldman, Frederick Levy, and then we also had Marcus Friedman, Abraham Horowitz, Joseph Lieberman.
Hedgeberg Rothstein.
There were several Cohens, by the way. There were many Cohens, like a lot of them. And then there was some other one. Goldstein was a popular one. Let me see if I can find Stern, another popular one.
Oh yeah.
And let me just say this: I heard Howard Stern commented on Johnny Depp's. I used to like Howard Stern. I used to think he was pretty funny, but like mostly I thought it was funny the side stuff that like his two fucking knuckleheads, Sal and Eric, right? No, not Eric. Sal and whatever his name was, the redheaded guy. You know what I'm talking about? They used to do like
Jackie
a lot of
the Joke Man, and then there was
Sal.
Oh, why can I not think of?
It was Eric the Midget. There was like a lot of funny antics that were going on the show, but there was like another character.
Of
Richard,
course,
Sal and Richard.
You know,
they used to do these really funny prank calls, and that was kind of like what I tuned in for, and like all the goofy antics that were going on. I could care less about Howard Stern, and like I grew up like in a time where Howard Stern was kind of like he was a big deal. I went to see his movie in the theater. Yeah, so but he came out recently saying, it's incredibly narcissistic that Johnny Depp would publicly display this trial with Amber Heard. Incredibly narcissistic. And my wife told me this, and I said, how ironic, right? Or no, not ironic. What's the word I'm looking for? How dare he, Howard Stern,
duplicitous,
a Jewish narcissistic scumbag, call Johnny Depp a narcissistic scumbag, because he's using his Jewish privilege to get to where he's at now, and he continuously uses it throughout the show. And I mean, he's used it in any case. He's like, oh, they fucking said this and this about me because I'm a Jew or whatever. But so
for people who still listen to him, by the way, you should know that for people who still listen to him or have respect for him, you should know that this man of the people says, of course, we should do forced vaxes and get rid of people if they don't. But he also is a horrible germaphobe who basically dismisses the entire rest of his crew, has a completely separate entrance and exit into the studios that he has to go into. And then I think he also takes like a helicopter or a plane or something. It was something so outlandish, for the fact that he hasn't been relevant in like 20 years.
Hypocritical. Mike said it. Hypocritical. That's
there it is. Yeah, completely hypocritical. Absolutely. Yeah, no, he's a fucking scumbag and a douche. And it's so funny too that he would say that about this trial situation. Now I don't know. Is it Johnny Depp the one's putting it on blast? I don't know, because I just watched him.
So. I think he just he's just a celebrity, right? So
that's just it. And so's the girl. It's not even just like, oh, I'm Johnny Depp and here's this thing happening and here's a citizen, just a normal citizen girl that I'm having I have a problem and therefore I'm gonna use my pressure. It's him and Amber Heard. It's not as if she's a nobody and
she is, but
look.
Jerry, name 3 movies that Amber Heard has been in without
Aquaman and Justice League and Justice League, the Zack Snyder cut.
Is she in Justice League though?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I'll take your word for it. I've not watched Aquaman or Justice League, so.
Well,
is she in the Snyder cut?
I'm 90% sure she's in at least one of them.
Because if I was Zack Snyder, I would remove her from the Snyder cut. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because but what would happen?
How bad this is, by the way, right now. I mean, I don't want to get all nerdy, but okay, out of the Justice League movie, whatever. So you have Ezra, whatever his name is, Miller, the kid who played the Flash. I don't know if you noticed or know this.
I don't know anything that's going on in the DC universe. I should know more.
He has completely lost his mind in real life and has been threatening. He threw a woman to the ground in public with people filming him, threatening to beat the shit out of her for some reason. He's been throwing he's actually, it's one of those things where you go, was he MK'd or something? Because how they do that. There's this common thing with celebrities where you notice they kind of go off script and then they come back into the public life with either their hair bleached blonde or shaved or both.
Yeah, like Britney Spears or Kanye West. Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah. So I don't know if that's what's happening to this dude, or maybe he's near a lot of 5G towers. I honestly have no fucking idea. But
he's probably vaccinated.
And he's also probably vaccinated. Yeah. Right. But he looks like a girl in terms of body build and you would assume that he'd be on a runway as a male model kind of thing. That's what this guy looks like off screen when he's not, the Flash. Yeah. Yeah. Which, by the way, they just gave him his own movie to do that I think they were starting to do for the Flash. And He was in whatever that new Harry Potter prequel thing is that's out now.
Oh, Hogwarts and the Dumbledore secrets or whatever.
Yes, he is somebody in that. I don't know who, but it's apparently
it
a
did
major
not do
part.
well, from what I understand.
But apparently it's a really major part. And the point I'm trying to make, so he's falling apart. He's accosting women on the street. He's throwing chairs at people in public, all kinds of stuff. So that's the one thing. Then you have the guy who played Cyborg saying that he would not come back for reshoots or whatever for the Justice League, and that Josh Whedon treated him so poorly, like trash, that DC needs to be taken down, that they're racist, all this sort of stuff. Now, whether you want to believe this whole spiel, that's not even the point. It's just the scandal of it all, you know?
Yeah.
And then now there's this Amber Heard thing where it speaking of drawings.
You know what's funny
stuff,
though, Jerry?
She took a shit on his bed and stuff. And Midnight's Edge, which is a video, you know, it's a YouTube channel. They, I think, have a T-shirt you could buy where they did a crayon colored drawing of her doing the poopies on Johnny Depp's bed, among other things. That,
well, I'm sure she's done some pretty terrible stuff on his bed, but so here's the thing. I never thought there would come a day, and I'm speaking as a fan of Ben Affleck. I never thought there would be a day where I could come forward and say, Ben Affleck is like the most clean-cut, least controversial person of this fucking group. You know, like I never thought that would be the day.
Meme. You know, like he's the guy with the exhausted with the Dunkin' Donuts meme.
Yeah,
and you know,
but
and
he's
then
like
that,
such a cool guy. You know, he's smoking
that video
outside
where his face
apartment
died. Remember that?
Oh yeah, because of how the movie didn't do well, and Henry Cavill was out there just like still selling it, like he's still like, hey, fuck it, you know, whatever, I don't care. You know, I'm just here. I'm Superman.
I'm about to be in a Tom Cruise movie. I got
Batman over here, man. You know, he's like, you know, we're just having a lot of fun. But like Ben Affleck, he's the guy who's just like, I don't know, he's just like Hollywood, right? Like he's Hollywood incarnate. You know, you look at Ben Affleck and you're like, that's Hollywood incarnate. You look at Henry Cavill and you're like, that's a fucking nerd. But he's like really good at acting, and he's really he's in shape. You know, he's a healthy dude, really cool, he's
incredibly
guy to look
buff,
up to. But you know, you've got Ben Affleck, who's Hollywood incarnate, and like, you know, he's obviously very upset.
Dude, he's literally been with I don't know how many Jennifers. You know what I mean?
Well, most of them were Jennifer Lopez. At least the majority of them were Jennifer Lopez. The majority
well, he also had
of
Jennifer Garner.
Hold on. Right? The majority of the Jennifers that Ben Affleck has been with are Jennifer Lopez. Like, you could say that. That's a statistically true fact, right?
That's a fact. Yeah, that's a factual statement. That's true.
That's a good one. I should write that down. That should be my quote. Okay, Jerry, do you want to do this fucking weekly whoobies before we get into whatever we're talking about this week?
Sure. Yeah. Do you want to do your little?
First? I always forget.
Yeah, do the shot first. Why not?
All right. Well,
we're actually on time.
Well, you get your whoobies together. I don't know where my shot glass is here. There we go. I got it.
Oh no.
Oh, I'm doing this howler head again. I'm actually recreating last week. I'm trying to finish this American Honey Sting. I finished like half the bottle last time, but I'm just one man. So, and then I've got this howler head. I just have like all this booze, and it's just me drinking it, and then occasionally I get my wife to drink it. Like, I'm like, hey, try this, so that we can go upstairs and do weird stuff or whatever. But like, she rarely ever like acquiesces that. She never like agrees to that. But she will occasionally drink like the peanut butter. What is it called? Not screwball. We do I don't know. We do some kind of like whatever the fuck. Maybe it is screwball. I think it is screwball. The peanut butter whiskey, really good stuff. But she'll drink it, and you know, the honey, American honey. This American Honey Sting stuff is like really like, it's spicy. You know, it's a spicy whiskey, but it's also like very sweet. It's sweet and spicy. It's like eating Chinese food, like at a Chinese restaurant you don't trust yet, so you get the sweet and spicy, sweet and sour chicken, right? You know, you gotta like get the one just so that you can see how they do, and you're like, this is someplace I'll order from in the future. That's not the problem out here in the Midwest, Jerry. I got to tell you, we don't have more than one Chinese restaurant within delivery distance, right?
It's literally
so,
just the one.
You've got what you got, and you got to deal with it. Some of them don't even deliver. It's insane. Like, you don't know the sacrifices that we have to make out here. But I'm going to do this banana Howlerhead banana whiskey. This is actually in from my Houston, Texas shot glass, which I try to use as often as possible when my son actually does the dishes and puts them away where they belong. Use it as often as I can. I do enjoy this tall shot glass because A, there's more alcohol in it, and B, my wife gave it to me, and I gotta be.
Oh, that's nice.
I gotta put it on camera as often as possible. Plus, super fan. I gotta let him know that we're representing Texas here on the show, at least in this small gesture. Here. So, what are we cheersing to, Jerry? Harvey Weinstein's genitals.
I was gonna say broken skin grafted genitalia. How about that?
The Drew Barrymore skin grafted genitals of Harvey
TM.
Weinstein.
Trademark.
To them, and also to women doing predator stings, Jerry. To women doing predator stings, because we've found that there's this new, a lot of us are out here watching these predator catcher shows and YouTube channels, and they're always guys, right? Because guys do everything better than women, like all the time, anyways. But
Agreed.
We've discovered that and this group is the same group that caught the Facebook executive. Remember some months ago?
Oh, that's the same one.
The same group. They caught somebody from my neck of the woods here in Ohio, or like in Ohio, just not too far from here. And they caught somebody. He was a school board president, and they busted his ass. And I watched the video, and then a couple hours later, I saw the news story. Because I had just been giving them a chance recently. It's this other. It's Predator Catchers Muncie is what it's called. It's a subsidiary of Predator Catchers Indianapolis, right? And they kind of like come together and they do catches, but it's two chicks and a guy, right? And the two chicks, right? Like they add this element, and Jerry, you pointed, I can't take credit for this, but you pointed this out. Having a chick do the predator catch adds this whole new element. And like, I realized as soon as you said it, I'm like, damn, that is true. Cause I don't feel like when you have, Pop Squad, when you have Nito, when you have DAP, when you have, our boy Samuel from up in Canada, and Skeeter Jean, you have the guy and being talked down to by a guy. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. You're not my fucking dad. Get out of my face. Like, who cares? As long as I can get out of this unscathed, I'll be all right. I don't care what you say to me. But like when a chick does it, it is so different, right? Like, it's almost like when you get yelled at by your mom, right? As much as you may not agree with your mom, or as much as you may not get along with your mom or whatever, you still respect her as the woman who brought you into this earth, right? Like when she talks down to you or when she scolds you or whatever, it hurts a lot more. When
she's disappointed,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
So that's what these girls do. They do this. They do this thing where like they'll like almost coddle you. They'll coddle the predator, right? And they'll say, "Hey, so is this what happened? Hey, I get it. Like this happens, blah, 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 blah." They'll like coddle them and they'll coach them along. And then, and like, without
let me just talk to you.
Yeah.
Come on,
just
let's
like
just talk
a woman,
about it.
She will turn coat real quick. And she'll just all of a sudden be like, "Hey, it's okay. We're going to all of a sudden, you motherfucker, you are here in my community doing da-da-da." So like the whole thing gets like tossed on its ear and you're just like, whoa, and you kind of feel you're like with them in that moment where you're like, wow, okay, I get it, this is a mistake, whoopsie daisy, whatever. But then all of a sudden they turn it and you're like, you're getting yelled at by your own mother, and it's terrifying. And I mean, like, this chick is she's like our age, right? She's no older than we are, but she's got a kid who's 13, so she's got some skin in the game, right? And so she gets out there and she like tears these fucking predators up. And I gotta say, normally I don't respect women. And I know Stephicus just jumped into the chat. Hi, Stephicus. Normally I don't respect women, but these predator catchers, Indianapolis and predator catchers Muncie, like I love them. I'm a new fan. Like I'm newly like involved.
The dynamic is incredible because.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the dynamic is incredible. I just have to say, and watching the one in particular where the head of the school board was the one that you told me about that led me to that. It was just incredible to watch because, and I think it was their best one. I've watched some older ones, I watched the new ones, like this one was incredible because they were basically playing it off as if they were just concerned parents about what the child was saying to the guy on the calls and on the chats. So he's starting to slowly, because they're lulling him to sleep with this. No, I know, we're just so concerned about what our daughter's doing. The internet is such a mess. She's looking for attention because her dad something. They had all this shit, and he's just going, yes, well, so this is what happened, or and he slowly.
Yeah, and he gives them such bullshit. Like, it's obviously fake
it's
shit.
The bullshit first, though, and then it's just slowly opening up to the real shit. Slowly, he's like, or then the guy on the side. I don't know who
Eric,
he is to them.
Eric, yeah, he's Predator catchers in Indianapolis.
Oh, okay. So then they'll be talking, and then he'll come up and go, yeah, but what was that thing you said about kissing? Or right?
Yeah, he's like, he times it so perfectly. He's like, or he'll go, ew, you said what? He'll overreact. Yeah.
Right, but it's like, it's just so they're lulling him into that confident, like the false sense of security. And then he'll just go. He'll come in and go, yeah, but we heard our daughter on the phone with you, and she had you on so we heard you say you wanted to come over and give her a massage, including massaging her butt.
Yeah, you wanted to like put your finger inside of her. What was that about?
Yeah, you said, and you said call you grandpa, but also you wanted to massage her butt. And what is it? So I'm just trying to listen. We're concerned about what our daughter's being exposed to. We understand. You were just trying to be like a mentor. They're just like feeding the bullshit.
It's so good. Like they have it like they have it queued up just right.
So queued up, and then suddenly, like that. They just go, cut with the fucking bullshit, and you're like, whoa, and then like there's the guy, yes, but it was the women turning. I don't want to be like, I don't know. I'm going to talk about India without talking about rape buses.
Right, which is difficult to do. Go ahead.
It is, yeah. So imagine, okay, so the women instead are first the snake in the snake charmers. That's just coming out of the bag. Or the basket, right? And the basket's still on the snake's head. And isn't that cute? That's fucking funny, isn't it? Oh, look at this snake balancing a basket on his head. I saw that one time at a zoo. And you're talking to each other, and this and that and the other. And the next thing you know,
it strikes.
It gets you. Yeah, that was these women. You know what I mean? Indian snakes with baskets on their heads that suddenly go snaky. Or like the lions who killed or bit the Siegfried and Roy. It's like they've been.
Well, they were tigers,
or tigers. Yeah, they've been just not tigering for a really long time.
So let me tell you this, Jerry. I don't know if it's like physically if she's attractive, but like I saw her, the main chick or whatever who does, because there's like two chicks, right? One of them is like don't even bother. But then the
one's
other one,
a little
like
beefy,
the main one,
and then there's the other one. Yeah.
Right. The other. So I'm glad you're with me on this one. The other one, like the main one, she's like, I don't know if she's pretty or if it's the fact that what she's doing has made her attractive. Things?
Yeah.
Because like you can look at her and you can be like, well, she's not I guess she's attractive, but like when
fine.
You see her, you're like, wow. Because all of a sudden you're like, look at what she's doing and look at how like confident she is. That's very attractive. All right. So anyways, to all that stuff. So.
Oh yes, yeah, to all that stuff. And
don't
that
have
led
many
to
fans.
a very.
What's up?
And we just want to. I just want to say to the audience too: have these conversations with your friends, because Tom and I do speak off air. This isn't just a professional friendship here, and I followed up with Tom on his recommendation to watch this, and then that led me to thinking about a skit idea that we thought was really great, and that was. We're setting the scene, right, Tom? So I was thinking you had me at Bigfoot goes predator hunting, and you and I, we're predator hunters now. We've got our predator hunter hats on. One of us is wearing a sombrero, probably you, because you have, the Mexican heritage in your family. That's a little bit more tasteful as opposed to me wearing it. Secondly, then I'm wearing one of those safari hats. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I'm on the hunt. I'm big game hunting. Okay. Then we've got we've got the background detailed. We tell everybody We've got the whole thing lined up. We've gone over chat logs. It's disgusting. It's fucking filthy, awful. And then, just as we're about to strike, we're in the same Walmart parking lot, because it's always fucking Walmart or 7-Eleven or something. So we're in the same Walmart 7-Eleven parking lot.
What does that tell you about predators? Or what does that tell you about Walmart? You know, that like that's where all
they're open all hours. That helps, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's, you know, you don't have like that 24-hour Target, I guess. I don't know.
The classy predator who's like, listen, we got to meet at 4:00 at Target, okay?
Yeah, can we?
At
No,
Hobby
no.
Lobby.
Excuse me. Can I meet at noon at Nordstrom's? Because I can't. I just have to. But then you and I were ready. We're about to pounce, and then ping, ping, get some notifications, and suddenly one of us turns to the other and says, "I can't do this." And the other one's in shock, going, "What are you talking? This guy's. Do you remember what he said?" And then we pull up the screen, and it turns out this predator just turned their profile picture into a Ukraine flag.
Yeah, the overlay of the Ukraine flag, because
That's
he stands with Ukraine. You can't blame him.
That's right. And now he stands with Ukraine. And what are you supposed to do with that? You can't. Okay,
You know,
sure. Were
Jerry,
they trying?
I am reluctant at first, right? Because I have to ask you this at this point, because you're the one who realized that he's got the Ukraine flag. I myself, a bit of a skeptic. I'm
Right.
like, well, was he wearing a mask these last 2 years? Is my question, right?
Right.
So what do you do?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I pull up the dick pics, and it turns out, in every dick pic he sent us,
There's a mask.
he has a mask on.
But hold on. Okay, so that's his. Listen, Jerry, I'm still a bit skeptical. Okay,
Right.
I want to know.
Well, this
what
is our
type
big
of-
catch. This is a bit. We've worked on this for a while.
Hear me out. This is his personal at-home stuff, right? Like, we don't know what's going on. When he goes out and gets into his car, like, what type of car is he driving? What type of stuff is he representing to the community on his back window? What are we seeing there, Jerry? Because that's going to be the ultimate deciding factor for me.
Well, see, okay, so this is a slight deviation of what I had said to you. So what I had said to you was, Tom, he put up the Ukraine flag on his Twitter handle, and you said the masks on in the dick pics. To which I replied, yeah, and in the picture you could see on the floor his Black Lives Matter dildo.
Oh, that's right. I knew it was Black Lives Matter something. So I was trying to like.
And
set
so
you
I'm
up
sitting
for
here going, because you're talking about this car, and I'm going, oh, what else is there? I'm like, is Tom expanding on this without even mentioning it? And then I said, I literally, when you said that, I just thought to myself, oh, could you imagine? He shows up in a Prius with the human rights equal sticker on the back.
The equal sign, the yellow sticker, and then the, he's got the coexist and the Black Lives Matter on the back of his car. Yeah, with the fist.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I expect.
With a fist, right? And now we know what it means.
Right. It all comes together. It all ties together that it's about it's about fist fucking a 5-year-old, Jerry.
Yes.
That's what Black Lives Matter really stands for, is fist fucking a 5-year-old. Okay.
That and getting money enough to
buy a house on the shore.
Buy a mansion and then tell everybody it's a racist misunderstanding.
Yeah. So. Terrible. Hey, so we're gonna take a 1-minute break.
Okay.
A 1-minute whiz break, and then you can do your whoobies, Jerry. I'm gonna, because I forgot to do any kind of thing for like a intermission. It's just gonna be the J-Rab thing. So just deal with that for 1 minute.
Okay.
out there that are better produced than ours, that they have like shit to prepare or to like go in that place. So instead of being like, hey, I gotta go take a piss, they're like, all right, well, now a word from our sponsors, right? All right, so welcome to the chat. Thundercock Jackson, Mike in Manitoba, Megabit, Stephicus, Ben, who's on the road. He's actually on his... I think he actually arrived already at his destination. Superfan, and anyone else who might be tuning in right
by the way,
now. Also,
can I
Joseph
make a special
Byron,
mention?
By the way. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Well, I just, we have often promoted at the end of the show, Telegram for both of us, the show and my own personal and all that kind of stuff. And I just want to say, whether this person is real or a Fed, I have no idea. But if it was a Fed, you were a very nice Fed. And I want to say that I got a nice message and a follow from cool gent who, I don't want to go too deeply into it, because if it's a real person, I don't want to embarrass them in some way. But if it's a Fed, then I don't want to look like I'm just complimenting a Fed too much, right?
Oh, Jerry.
And, well,
you're better than this to compliment the federales.
That's it. Well, this is what I'm saying. So I just wanted to say it was very nice, the chat that I had, and they were very complimentary of the show. Tom,
really?
They described it. First of all, they said that it's a release for him and his wife, and that they're looking to try to do homestead. Like, they called us the Happy Warriors, Tom.
Huh.
Yeah. Do you know what they mean by that?
No idea.
Yeah. I didn't really know either, but I kind of chuckled and I liked it. And so I asked him what the hell that meant, because I kind of liked it. And then he
signed off forever.
Yeah, and he's just gone. Yeah. Well, he said, essentially what we do, our part in all of this, I guess, for him, Tom, is that we are living in a very dark time. A lot of trials, tribulations, evil out there. Yeah. And then you and I turn the old record button on, turn the old broadcast button on, and we're just a chuckling. You understand what I'm saying? We're out there bringing out the chuckles, the smuckles, and also still promoting the idea that... Well, so part of what he said was, on the one hand, for people like him, it's nice to be able to get to a show where there's the reminder that there's people out there who aren't just following the NPC types. In other words,
sure,
you're not just following that stuff. There are people out there going like, oh yeah, no, there's all this, right? And so that's nice, comforting. And then he said, well, on the other hand, though, you're also not just slogging through going, ah, or crying or whatever it might be. And so instead, we're making fun or, laughing at the devil or whatever you might want to call it. And that makes us the Happy Warriors, because we are sort of the warriors on the other side of the fence of the cultural demise that's happening right now. But we're also like the jesters in the group, I guess. I'm trying to, kind of paint the picture best I can. But that was the...
It's nice to be recognized. Yeah, Don Trout called us groomers. No.
Yeah, I couldn't help myself. I was, oh, man.
How dare you? No, I know. But no, welcome to the chat, by the way, Don Trout. But no, I think your mysterious Fed fan is onto something. By the way, I also want to welcome Ben's tile worker. I think it was that he recommended. Remember, he was like, "Oh, I listened to that show," and
that's right,
pretty funny. I want to make sure that we mention him. I don't know his. He came onto he commented on the chat at one point. He's like, hey, it's me, I'm the tile worker, right?
That's it.
But no, I do want to say hi and what's up to him, because he probably didn't get to see hear last week's episode, because I still haven't uploaded it, and I actually removed it from YouTube, and I just never updated it. Man, no, because it split up, right? Because we got in trouble for mentioning so and so such and such, right?
We mentioned a few things that got us in trouble.
Yeah, and so I haven't uploaded because school has been chaotic this week, and let me tell you, I had to kind of take the wheel on some group projects, which I didn't want to do, because there was a time, right? There was a time where I had to be a leader in the Army. I was a sergeant first class in the Army. I had to do leader shit. And at the time, it was okay because I'm like, well, that's what I'm called to do. That's what I'm here for. And in certain instances where, like, in the church where I'm, like, a teacher or whatever, or I'm, like, being, I was asked if I wanted to be a deacon, whatever. Like, this sort of, like, leadership roles, that's great. I'm willing to take those on. I'm willing to do those. But when it's a school project and there's, like, young bucks who are trying to build their resume, like, motherfucker, you need to be the one to take charge on this. But it ended up being me, 36-year-old Tom Miller, having to come and take the wheel on some seminary project because these dudes were like they were waiting till the last possible minute. And frankly, I'm the guy who, like, I'll wait. V and I always joke about this. We always joke about how, like, you know, the old saying, do today, right? You know, like, if you wait until the last minute, you really only have to worry about it and work on it for 1 minute, right? So that's kind of our mantra of that sort of thing. But these dudes were, like, really cutting it close for a final project that was, like, a majority of our grade. And I'm like, hey guys, like, let's go ahead and get our stuff done so that we can do. And this chick, literally before this show started, she sent out an email. She's the one, she skipped out on, like, one, there were 8 things, but there were like 5 or 6 of us, I think 6 of us. I took on two of the things. Another dude who's also in the military, he's actually a chaplain applicant. He's working towards becoming a chaplain. He's serving in the capacity of a chaplain. He took on 2 of the spots. Everybody else kind of just, like, they were like, nobody wanted to take on the extra spot, right? So one person, this chick, she's like, hey, I'll put it all together when it's done. How about? So then she's like, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I sent in all my stuff. Everybody sent in all their stuff. And she says, hey, in accordance with MLA format, it has to have a page number. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, we've not asked of you any extra work, really. You have to put everything together in one Word document. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Microsoft Word automates that, right? Like, all you have to do is do that yourself. Like, you just have to type it in. But she wasn't having it. But anyways, it's due today. I did both my parts and somebody else's part too, because nobody else stepped up. Me and this other dude, we ended up doing 2.5 parts ourselves, right? And, like, everybody else is like, fuck it, you know, whatever, you know, because they don't care. Like, they're not going on to their, and I'm not saying I'm going on to my doctorate or whatever. I would hope to at one point.
Tom, here's the thing.
In the future,
can I ask
become a PhD or a doctor of ministry, but I'm not, like, I'd like to have that option open.
Can I ask you this?
That's it.
Out of all the people in the group, how many are there, roughly?
In the group that I'm working in?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 of us. There's 5 of us, Jerry.
So out of the 5, how many of them have a cape?
None of them.
Well, see,
not even me. That's what we're all working on. We're all working on the cape.
Tom, listen, we've all seen you do the cape thing. So just stop with the humility for just a second.
Well, I can only,
let's,
you know.
And let's lay it out there. It's on it. Look, we're already talking about it. Okay, it's already here. We just have to be adults about it. Some of us have capes. Some of us
were meant for the cape, is what I think you're trying to get at, Jerry. Some of these cats, they don't deserve the cape.
We've seen you do the cape flip, and it seemed natural to the point where I forgot you didn't have it yet. You understand what I'm saying?
So I get it. I'm with you. Like, to me, I should have been. So it's so funny to me because, like, some of these dudes, like, this is so. Some of these people, I don't know. I know a couple of them are going for their Master of Divinity, which a Master of Divinity degree is 3 years. You have to go for, it's not a regular Master's where you go for 1 year, 33 semester hours. It's not that. It's a 3-year program. Like, the one I'm in is 96 semester hours, right? And you have to take 33 semester hours every year. So it's a 3-year commitment that you do to become a pastor, okay? And I'm not there to become a pastor. These other people are. These other people are intending to become pastors, except for one of them who's going on to be a chaplain in the military, which is awesome. I'm like, more power.
It is weird to hear that in context, right? Because forgetting what it is that you were working on or for, I'm just hearing you're stuck in a shitty college group, but now I'm hearing The people trying to be God's representative to an
Right.
entire community is just like, I ain't doing that fucking homework, you
Yeah,
or
how
whatever.
dare you
You
try to
know?
stick me with some extra work? Like, and if I
Well,
don't know if you
no,
know
but
this.
forget about it even being about like you or even the group. It's literally just, okay, look, I feel like I can carry the torch for Jesus and be the guiding light of my community. However, if you ask me to number this fucking paper, I'm going to
How
quit school
dare you?
or whatever.
How,
You know what I
who do
mean?
you
Like
think
this
you
is,
are, Jerry?
yeah, this is what you know what I'm saying? Like this is where it's humorous. It's not just, oh, I got to do this. I don't know, whatever it is. I'm trying to be something else, but you have to take that course that has nothing to do with it. You know those? It's
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
you
yeah.
got to take I have to take a basic trig class, but I'm
Jerry,
trying
you
to
know
be
what this class is?
what?
That this is for?
I
It's
don't.
pastoral crisis intervention. Okay, so this is so. Here's the thing about pastors, right? I don't intend to be a pastor. I never will be a pastor.
Mhm.
I hope to never be a pastor because I don't think that I would be very effective at it. If the Lord called me to
Okay.
become a pastor, I would do it. But I don't think that's where He's got me. And He's made it very clear, like throughout like these last several years, that this is
Okay.
not where He wants me to be. However, I understand.
How often does he call you?
It I would say twice a year at least, but it's like
Really? Wow.
no, I know what you're going with it with the joke. He doesn't personally call me. Like I get so few calls on my phone or whatever. My phone is strictly
Remember that time
for
we talked for like 4 hours?
Jerry.
It was incredible.
My phone is strictly for watching Predator Catcher videos. Predator Catcher Muncie. Right now, actually, I'm trying to catch
Right.
up because we're so far behind on the Predator Catcher Muncie.
So many.
Um,
So many.
But no, I have instances where I'm like, okay, the Lord has redirected me from this thing to that thing. That
I
happens
understand.
at least twice a year, and in the last
Okay.
several years.
Sure.
And or he's redirected me. Hey, this is where I need you. I don't need you there right now, but whatever.
Mhm.
Thundercock Jackson
Right.
said every Thursday. Every Thursday, the Lord and I have a meeting where we sit down and we discuss my.
Well, yeah,
evaluations
it's
or whatever.
of course it's every Thursday. It's the day after the show where you're like, all right, look, I'm not sure
Lord,
exactly.
Forgive me for all
Yeah,
the
I'm
horrible,
sorry.
nasty things that I've said about your chosen people.
Right.
But no, like I don't see myself ever becoming a pastor, but these people do, right? So like most of the
Right.
people, as I look around the room, like when we sit in our classrooms and I'm meeting with these people for the first time, or I'm reading their like introductions or whatever, like most of these people are like, well, I was called into the ministry, I'm going to become a pastor. It's a Methodist seminary. I'm not a Methodist, but I go there
Mhm.
because it's like the only seminary. Seminary is not as common as you would think. There's probably like 3 of them in every state, but that's it. So
Okay.
you would either have to drive to like and they're at like the far corners of every state. They're never like near you.
Right. Yeah.
So this one that I'm at, it's like the nearest one. I went to the one that was nearest me. It was about a half an hour away, and it shut down like as soon as I started going to it that year.
Oh, no.
But anyways, they like these people. They're all like, yeah, the Lord called me to become a pastor. I'm become a pastor in the United Methodist Church and completing my my Master of Divinity course or study is like a requirement for that. Whatever. And then like I grew up in the church, right? Like I was a pastor's kid, which would explain why I'm such a bad motherfucker, right? Because not like bad, like a tough guy motherfucker, but like I was bad. I was a bad kid, right? And I was bad even
Sure,
like
yeah.
until I was 24 when I was baptized as an adult.
Oh.
Even like a little bit after that in the grace period, right? Like I was kind of a bad dude, right? And
Mhm.
like I grew up in the church. I know that the pastor's work is never really done, right? I remember talking to my dad until
It
the
is
day
if it's
he
homework.
died, right? Like weeks before he died is when he retired.
Mhm.
Like weeks before he died, he was still like, well, I've got, people pick on the pastor for being only working on Sundays and Wednesdays, right? Because that's the
Mhm.
only time you see the pastor typically if things are good, right? You only see
Nice.
him on Sunday and Wednesday for an hour. So they're like, he only works on Sunday and Wednesday for an hour, or an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening on Sunday, and an hour on Wednesday in the evening. That's it. That's all he works. Like, so and my pastor actually joked with me recently, like somebody dropped their dogs off with them because they were going on a little mini vacation. And they were like, well, I know he doesn't do anything all week. Like he can watch my dog. Like that's the attitude that people have about pastors. But the thing about pastors is they're never done. Like you have to find a day that is your least busy and treat that as your Sabbath day. So it might be a Thursday, might be a Tuesday, might be a Saturday, it might be, who knows. But whatever
Sure.
day it is, that's the day that you take as your Sabbath. And maybe it changes from week to week, because one week you might have like some emergency in the area where like you have to go visit members of the church because they're in the hospital, or you're
That these
always
people will be
preparing.
completely unprepared for because they don't want to do the homework, by the
Right.
way,
They don't,
which is just
and that's the thing. Like, I want to drive home to these people. I'm like, you guys have to realize it's not going to be, you can't rely on guys like me and this other guy, James, coincidentally, two guys who were the same names as Jesus' apostles. Like, you can't count on Thomas and James, right, to do all the work. You're going to have to do the work, Abigail. You're going to have to do the work, Stephanie. You're going to have to do the work, Andrew. This is gonna be a thing that you guys have to be prepared for in your pastoral roles. Like, you're gonna have people come in on Monday. They're gonna expect you to be in the office at the church from Monday to Friday, because if they want to, like, I don't know, plan a wedding or whatever, and they want to ask you if you're there, they want you to be there.
Yeah.
If they want you to, so my dad would always have to list the office phone number and the church office phone number and the parsonage phone number. So, like, if somebody needed to get a hold of him, they could get a hold of him at any time. And like, that never ended. He would always be like, hey, once I got my driver's license, I became a professional chauffeur. Like, I would take him to the hospital, to the nursing home, to this place, to that place, to somebody's home, to some place, some emergency, where they needed a chaplain. Like, the work of the pastor is never done. And if you think you're going to get a weekend, you're wrong. If you think you're only going to get one day off a week, you're still kind of wrong, because even on that day that you treat as a Sabbath, you're still going to have to do that. But Christ said, specifically, we try to have a Sabbath, even though most people's Sabbath is supposed to be on Wednesday, right? Or not on Wednesday, on Sunday. But the pastor works on Sunday, so you kind of have to make your own Sabbath. And then even on those days, you still sometimes have to go help somebody in the church or whatever. Those situations like that, Christ specifically spoke about that. He's like, well, somebody who's sheep. He said, well, what if your sheep was like, had fallen into a ditch and you had to help your sheep out of that ditch? Wouldn't you do that, right? Because it's like for the health of your sheep. You want to take care of your sheep. And like, even though it counts as work, you would still do it, even though it's on the Sabbath, right? So if it's something to help your fellow man or whatever, or your flock, by all means, go do it. That was Christ's word, right? That was like that, and that whatever. Nobody follows the Sabbath anymore. It's a fact. If you can find somebody who follows the Sabbath, more power to you. But that's one of the 10 commandments, right? That you keep the Sabbath holy. But Christ specifically said, if you have to go out and do some kind of like helpful activity for your flock, go do it on the Sabbath, because I would go out and help the sheep
Tom,
out of a ditch.
Excuse me. I
Go ahead.
believe what you're trying to say is that if you're having an issue with the females in your flocka.
What about the waka?
I'm not even going to keep going. I'm not even going to keep going. It's just
flocka. But no, anyways, these chicks, like, they have, like, for me, it's different because I'm never going to be a pastor. I specifically, when I received my calling, I prayed and prayed and prayed, and I told God, no, you're wrong. Like, you've got the wrong guy. And I dealt with that. And I dealt with the punishment that came with it. But when I realized that my calling to the ministry was not that of like the pulpit preacher, which is kind of like what I told God. And I think God was like, yeah, you're right. You are not a pulpit preacher. I think when that happened, and I realized what my calling was more to the deliverance ministry. And then ultimately oddly enough, like, you think of like how people get called to the ministry and then like weird shit happens and like you end up in a totally different area, and you think, well, that's weird that would happen to you. I myself ended up in the chaplaincy, right? Having been called into the deliverance ministry, that was my initial nudge into the door. But then all of a sudden the chaplaincy was like where I was needed and where I excelled. And even the guy who's in charge of the chaplains program, he's like, you're the only person I've ever had who, in years, I mean, not forever, but like in years, who has come in for the internship, like a 12-week internship, and you ended up like completing all of the ACPE level 1 stuff. He's like, I've got people who have been in the residency program for a year and a half who are still on level 1. He's like, you came in for 12 weeks and you've already exceeded what you need to exceed for moving on to level 2. So he's like, you are called into the chaplaincy. And he's like, and I hope that you will never forget that. And like over the last several years since my chaplain internship, he has continued to call me and be like, hey man, there's an opening. How close are you to finishing your degree? Because that's the only thing that's stopping you. And so he made me turn in all my paperwork just recently, just the other day, as a matter of fact, my last ketamine treatment. He's like, please bring in your stuff so we can get the ball rolling, because we've got one in the fall. For those of you who don't know, in the fall, I am competing for a chaplain residency, which will be a 1-year paid chaplain program where I get to work at the hospital, at the VA, and in the capacity of a chaplain, like the full capacity. And once that's done, I can apply for a role as a chaplain anywhere in the nation, and I'll have not only the military points, I'll have the disabled vet points, I'll have the chaplain points, all of which will essentially guarantee me a job as a chaplain if there is an open chaplain position and I'm competing against anybody else. So that's kind of like what this dude has been pushing me to do. And like he and I see, like, we are so far. Theologically we bicker, politically we bicker, everything we bicker, but he's like, you are a good chaplain. And it was so funny because one day he said to me, we were talking about how chaplains have, you have to be able to identify, like, look into your heart and determine who you are. He said you have to, if you know there's something wrong with you, you can still be a chaplain. And he's like, there are people in the ACPE program who certify chaplains who will see something wrong with somebody, as long as they notice, as long as they know that that is wrong with them, they will certify somebody as a chaplain. Now, what that means is, and this is what my chaplain said to me, my supervisor. He said, if you are a white supremacist, and he like looked me dead in the eyes when he said that. He's like, you are a white supremacist, you can still be a chaplain. Like, and I'm like, and I didn't want to be like, oh, what, how dare you? But he was just like, you can be these things, and these things can be like contradictory to what people think of religion or the chaplaincy or this or that or the other, but you can be that. As long as you recognize that about yourself, you can still be a chaplain. That's fine. But you just have to recognize and be able to put that aside when you're caring for the patient. And so, we actually talked about, I was like, well, what about pedophile? And he says, unfortunately, I have seen people who are pedophiles, who are admitted pedophiles, become chaplains. He says, I don't agree with it, but he's like, that's why I'm not on the ACPE board. He's like, but they will see it. And if the chaplain recognizes it and can put it aside, they can become a chaplain. And he said, and unfortunately, one of the people that has been true about went on to become a chaplain at a children's hospital. And like, we were both like mind blown. We were both like, in that moment we were discussing it, and he's like, I was like, that's so fucked up. And he's like, I know, but that's just the nature of the beast. He's like, but it's the CPE program,
literally of the beast.
the chaplain CPE chaplain, or no, I'm sorry, the clinical pastoral education. The clinical pastoral education program is for you as a potential chaplain or somebody in the ministry to discover what about yourself you need to identify. So they're like, it's kind of like, oh, you're the chaplain intern. It's harmless. You can go out there and do your best. We'll try to correct you along the way, but you're on your own. And you have to discover what it is that you need to discover about you. So that's what's cool about the CPE program. I don't know. I didn't think I would ever be a chaplain. I never thought I'd enter the ministry, ever. But here I am. And I never thought I'd be a chaplain, but here I am. I never thought I'd be graduating 3 years, 96 semester hours later with a Master of Divinity degree or whatever. I never thought any of that would be true, but here I am. And, what can you do, man? But anyways, are we let's see. Let's deal with the chat. It says, oh, by the way, welcome, Mostly Wave. Mike said, Don Trout says, oh, and also King of Jordan, an hour, man, you guys have some short services. Yeah, well, we're not Eastern Orthodox, right? The they don't have flock leading lessons at the seminary. Don Trout No, and if that's a thing, I think that should be. I don't like. There's some weird classes at the seminary. It's a primitive Methodist seminary, so it's not like. I grew up in the Methodist Church, so I know there are a lot of things that need to be worked in the Methodist Church, but I disagree strongly with the Methodist Church. And I think if there was I was actually talking to one of the other guys at my church recently. He's the son of one of the elders. He's not really a deacon either. I think they're like, we don't have any real deacons in the church, so like I think he's on the cusp of becoming a deacon as well. But there's that whole nepotism thing. Anyways, he and I talk a lot. He's a good friend of mine. He's like the other conspiracy guy that I talk about every once in a while. He was talking about creating a school for Church of Christ, because the Church of Christ is the church of the New Testament. It's like no man's doctrine, nothing. Like if it's in the Bible, it's in the Bible. It was written as such. The end. Like I don't want to hear any of this Thomas Aquinas, Augustus. I don't want to hear any of that. Chrysostom, none of that stuff. I just want to hear what it was in the original. Like we took care of the poor. We took care of the people of the church. We did the Lord's Supper, and we did some worship. We did some sermon, and we talked about the scriptures of the Old Testament. That's it. Right? That's what we do at our church. So it's different than like a lot of these doctrine-based ones, like the Methodist Church, the Lutheran, Baptist, all that stuff. It's very different than that. Anyways, Mike said, we try too. Hey, what's up, friend? Mosley Wave. You're the Charlie of all the chaplains. Mike said, nice, referring to, I think, when I was talking about the chaplain residency. And then Don Trout, will the VA still be open by the time you complete everything? Well, Don, way to rain on my parade. I would hope. We'll see. I don't know. And if not, I am open for becoming the soothsayer. Right? I'm open to becoming the priest of your post-apocalyptic
WWE
communicate. Well, no, I was gonna say post-apocalyptic commune or whatever. All those people who were talking about they would become the divinators, the tarot card readers, or whatever in the community. I'm open to becoming somebody's pastor if you will house me and my family and my kids and my chickens and bats. So and my falcon or my hawk or whatever I end up with this fall. But no, I hope Don. I love you, Don. I do. I know Jerry says some pretty fucked up things about you, but Don, no, I respect the hell out of you. Here's the thing. If it is, great. I've heard some horror stories about what's coming with the VA. I've heard a lot of stuff about the community care. I, as a person who partakes in the VA, am somebody who appreciates the community care. But as somebody who would like to work for the VA from the inside and be able to correct some of the shit that's wrong with it, I don't think the chaplain services, I think that's the least wrong thing within the VA, because it's the least used, but it's there. If you need it, it's there. As somebody who served as a chaplain in the internship program, I think it was I was, as soon as the call came out where it was attention, we need everybody on floor, there's an alert on floor such and such, and you have to fucking run there as fast as you can and get there to help the family, because if there's an emergency, a code blue or whatever, or somebody dies or somebody flatlines or somebody whatever, if you would run there as fast as you can, and as the chaplain, 9 times out of 10 they'd be like, hey, it's fine, go ahead and get out of here, there's no family here, or the person's, they've already been healed, or they've healed, as if it's a fucking Diablo. The person's already been revived, it's fine, it's all good. But 9 times out of 10 it was that. But sometimes you would be there and you were like, hey, I'm the chaplain, I'm here if you need me, and they'd be like, hey, the family's over here, if you could kind of talk to the family, that'd be great. That's a huge thing. It's one of the least used services, but it's also the one that's not wrong. There are a lot of things in the VA that are fucking wrong, wrong, that need to be addressed immediately. And the chaplain services is not one of those things. Now, I can't speak for all VAs, but I will say the one in Cincinnati is fucking spot on. Like I said, my supervisor for the ACPE program, he and I could not be more diverse. We could not butt heads harder on theology and politics and anything in general. But I see him and I'm like, that is a guy who cares about people. and who genuinely like shows God's love. I see my dad in my ACPE instructor, and that's how I kind of judge Christians. Like, my dad wasn't perfect. I think he was a great dad. I think he did as good as he could. He was, limited by this, that, or the other. But I think, like, as far as having to juggle the Lord and juggling his kids, I think he did a great job. I think he did just fine. I don't think he could have done any better as a human being. But I will say that when I see somebody, I stack them up against my dad, is how I determine how they are as a Christian, how they are as a man. And my dad and I butted heads a lot. Like, he and I did not like, well, I'm sure he loved me, but I'm confident he loved me as a child. But there were times where he and I would just butt heads, and we just did not get along. And we could not say a kind word to one another. He could have, I'm sure, but I could not get along with him at all. But I will always recognize that my dad was the most Christian man. And I don't ever use this term. I don't ever refer to somebody as good. But I would say he's about as close to good as a human being could get. So when I see my ACPE instructor, I stack him up against my dad, and I'd say he's doing pretty dang good. And when I see like other people as I go along my Christian journey, I've met maybe 2 people in my life that have stacked up against my dad as far as who I would consider to be godly people. And yeah, so like 2 people in 3 people if I include my dad. But in 36 years, there's been like 3 people that I would stack to that I would put to that level. And my ACP instructor, the guy who instructs me as a chaplain, intern, or resident in the future, he's one of them. So I mean, like, it's I would say that the Cincinnati VA chaplain services program is kind of like, it should be the flagship, or like it's like the gold standard of like what chaplain services should be. Now, I can't speak to any other one. I've never been to any other one, but if yours is better than mine, I challenge you to debate me. Anyways, Jerry, I know you got some whoopies that you want to talk about.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that for those in the chat, first of all, if they thought Don was kidding when he said that Taco Bell is rolling out a drag brunch tour this summer, the answer is no, he wasn't kidding. And yeah, I was just looking at that, and it's just this incredible picture of a drag person in drag holding a burrito that I've been trying. I'm not sure which picture was more disturbing, somewhat like the Harvey Weinstein one from before or this one. But so that's not really a whoops. That's a
thing. Let me say this. Mike said something. He's trying to take a shit on my dead dad here. No, I'm just kidding. I know he's not. He's saying he could have tried a bit harder with Jamis a bit. No, and I know he's just poking fun. I'm not saying that he's saying that. But no, here's the thing, man. And I don't want to say anything bad about James. My dad tried. He really did. Like, it's a birth order thing is what that came down to, is and I see it with my kids, and I know because like I'm a birth order guy. Like, I'm a philosophy, like birth order, psychology, philosophy, whatever. Like, I'm super into that, and there is something to be said about the birth order. If you've ever looked into the birth order concept, it's so true, because you will see it in every single. I have a friend, he's a major in the Army, and he was one of my commanders, super good guy, love him to death. He's doing his own thing. So I follow him and his wife, but his wife is always posting on Facebook, and I see their kids, and I see my kids and their kids, because they were born right at the same time. So like, I see their oldest looks exactly like Xander and acts exactly like Xander. I see their youngest, would essentially be the middle, and I see my middle son, right? So it's a thing that you see, and I just love them to death, because as a parent, and anybody who's not a parent, you'll see this one day. Anybody who is a parent, you'll see this with your own kids. It's so funny, because you see the birth order. It's so true. Like, you'll see the characteristics of the birth order and how it works out. You'll be like, holy shit, that is absolutely correct. And like, it sounds like hoodoo doo-doo, like fucking horoscope stuff, but it's so true because these kids, they take on these roles based on the way you treat them as a parent. And as my youngest, who James was the youngest, and the no, I know Mike, I know you do, and I'm just picking on you or whatever. So any of the shit that I said about you is I was just poking fun. I know you weren't. It wasn't in malice or whatever. But the my youngest, I know that Jamis was babied, right? Because like me and my sister and I, we both graduated. I went off into the army, she went off to college. You know, we were gone, and for 3 years James was the baby. He was the only child. I myself was the only child for 3 years, but I was the oldest. It was a different thing. So like as you're approaching the empty nest, and especially as like both parents are kind of working, the youngest is kind of like babied still, but also they're left alone, right? So they get to go and make all these bad decisions. And I totally encourage you to read it. I'm not doing it justice, but the birth order shit is so accurate. And I watch because I'm like, oh, my parents, oh, doggone it. You know, like I sit here and I'm like, oh, my parents, they shouldn't have babied Gemma so hard. They shouldn't have done this and they should have done that. But then like, I'll say, you know, they babied him for years. He was still the baby. They just let him do whatever. He could curl up into bed with them, whatever. You know, he could do no wrong. My youngest, Sterling, he is my baby. And he can do no wrong in my eyes. I let him come into the bed with us after he has, you know, he'll go to sleep in his bed, and then he'll come in the middle of the night. He'll come and he'll lie down between us, and I'll hold him. If he comes in and he does something wrong, I'll take his hands and I'll say, Sterling, you did this wrong. We need to deal with this. What do you need to do? You need to go apologize. You need to go do such and such. Okay. Whereas Xander and Dayton, bam! You did such and such. That's a smack on the butt. You get back out there and you do such and such. Dayton's, get back in your bed. Xander, get back in your bed, right? But my baby, never. I will never, and I realize it. It's one of those things where I recognize that I hold my youngest son. He's 8 years old now. He's not a baby anymore, but I still treat him as if he were my baby, right? That I was cradling, that I was holding, that I was rocking to sleep, that I was like, hey, we don't need to lay him in his crib tonight. We'll just take him in the bed tonight. You know, like it's that birth order thing when you're like, this is my last baby until I have grandkids, right? And he's not going to be my baby, but I'll take him whenever they allow me to. But he's my baby, right? And especially like when I got retired from the army, I held Sterling and he was mine because, you know, my wife was at work, and I would stay home with Sterling, and he was my baby. He and I were buds while the other two were at school. So I get it. I get that the birth order exists and that you cannot thwart the birth order. You will never thwart the birth order. Your baby will always be your baby. Your oldest will always be your leader, and the middle child will always be your outcast. That's just how it is. And the only way that changes is if you span enough time between one child to the next, in which case it starts over. But if you have your kids, boom, 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 back to back, they're going to fall into that birth order thing. Anyways, I'm off my soapbox. I'm guilty of it just as much as my dad was. If I wanted to sit here and say, oh, my dad was to blame for this, for Jamis, I would have to say that I have to expect all the things that I see in Jamis. I would have to say that I will expect to see them in Sterling. I hope that I will do everything that I can to maybe make some changes, but I recognize that anything that Jamis did that I disagree with, I might one day see it in Sterling, and I have to own that I might have played a part in that. Does that make sense, Jerry?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the exact description is, yeah, I had a brother who was treated this way. I'm treating my son this way. That might actually come up with the same results. Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. And it's very difficult not to do, I would imagine. You know, I only have one kid. But, yeah, it's difficult.
Jerry, I'm going to put you on the spot. Are you guys trying to have another kid?
No,
okay.
No, we're not. I'm already an old man, you know. So that's just that. Not, yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, if things happen, that's one thing. But as far as like actually trying, it's like, oh yeah, no, sorry.
Are you taking preventative measures, Jerry?
Yes, she makes me sleep in the basement now.
Okay.
It is no. This chair is actually where I sleep. This is where it's just her and the baby upstairs.
As soon as the show's over, you just take your headphones off and like tilt your head back, and you're good.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I keep the headphones on so I don't have to hear the furnace and the Yeah. I mean, if I have the washing machine on, that's enough. ASMR or whatever. That's fine. But
your ASMR is just like basement noises.
It's my basement noises. That's all it is. It's the sump pump turning on. Whatever it is. So that's how we have the preventative measures.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Never have sex ever again. That's
how it is. Yeah. I don't know. Just
what? How old is your daughter? She's like what? 18 months.
Well, she just turned 1.
Okay. So
yeah.
You're about 6 months away from anywhere from that now until the next 6 months. Mm-hmm. I am willing to bet you're gonna have that conversation where it's like, well, I'm thinking maybe like I got another one in me. Maybe we can make this happen.
She has said some
I knew it,
like
Jerry,
that to me before.
Yeah. I knew it.
Yeah, she has definitely said, yeah, I'll have that fleeting thought. Oh, maybe we should have it, whatever, And she'll blame it on me. Like she'll say, I'll be looking at you, and then our kid, whatever, and then I'll think, oh maybe, and then, oh no, then of course that's not that's not happening. What are you talking? The whole thing, but
Jerry,
of course
you're gonna have more kids, Jerry.
I don't listen. If someone could give me a little bit more money and time and give me about 10 years back on my life, that's the thing. Strangely enough, I was only ready for this at this point in my life. Wife, the same thing. But the problem is that the age at which we're ready.
Yeah.
It's like
you guys kind of waited too long.
Well, or just long enough to have the one that gives us the meaning and the spirit that has been given to us.
You need more.
And that's why
you need more kids.
Well,
kids
we
are
also said,
like, and it's one of those things where like Jerry, where like, you hear about it all the time. People are like, well, when they're young, you got to cherish it or whatever. Like I fucking hated the years where they were babies and they were just like shitting everywhere and there was like constant diaper changes, puke and blah. Like every day I'm like, I can't wait till they're old enough to where they're not wearing diapers. Like that'll be so fucking cool. I can't wait until they're just sleeping in their own bed. I can't wait until they're like able to do their own thing and leave me the fuck alone. Like the whole time. And then like once they're able to do all that stuff, you're like, man, I wish we could have another baby. Like honestly, and here's the thing: if my, not a lot of people know this. I don't share this with everybody, but we cannot have more children. Not if we could have.
No, Tom, I want to clarify for people: is it because of your HOA?
My HOA made it very clear that I'm not allowed to have more children, right? No, we're not. We're physically not. We're
having
able
a few
to.
people that are, having a bit of an issue keeping their houses in order, and we'd love to let you have one. But then, if we let you have one,
if we make an exception, then we have to make an exception for these people who can't keep their fucking yards clean. So,
that's right.
and that's what's so funny to me too is like kids are the fucking messiest. They're way messier than animals, and but whatever. Anyway, I digress. But we're not allowed. We're not able. We're not physically. It's not that we're not allowed, but sort of. We're not allowed, but we're not physically able to have more kids. Otherwise, believe me, we would have fucking 10 of them by now, right? Because like we were having kids 18 months apart. Like we had our first 2 18 months apart, and then our third, we decided 2 was enough because we had 2 boys. We were like 2's enough or whatever. After like 3 years, my wife was like, well, let's have another fucking kid. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Because I'm not gonna force her to have a kid, right? Because it's her body, right? I know it's physically taxing. I know for me it was emotionally taxing to like, because I knew that like her carrying a baby, everything that was, if she like slipped or like stumbled or whatever, I'm like, like I panicked, right? Because I'm
Tom,
like,
can I
no,
tell you
please,
real fast, like seriously,
go ahead.
When, of course, so as far as stress and all that is concerned, not to believe everything, of course. I think people know how I feel about certain things that have happened over the last couple of years. But the point I was trying to make in the statement is, as far as stress, right? We had just bought a house the month before the entire world locked down. Mm-hmm. And then that comes into job instability, this, that, and the other. And then, within a few months, she gets pregnant. So you're going, all right, whatever this thing is, she has to go back to work eventually and be pregnant. And, you know, and on and on. And then the jabs start getting forced and with all that stress. And in the midst of that, of course, it's our first kid. Again, just it's the first, you're just, it's not like the old hat. It's not the rodeo. What is happening, right? You know. And then one day I was just sitting on the couch and she was coming down the stairs and she fell on the stairs while pregnant, like visibly, like I don't remember how many months it was or whatever, but just being so helpless and watching that, I mean, heart attack city, dude, you know. And luckily it was totally fine. Nothing happened, you know. Maybe a bruise, I think, but nothing else. And got very lucky. But I totally hear what you're saying because, you know, it was this crazy situation where everything else in the outside world was just kind of being like, here's all the ways we're going to fuck with you. And then somehow we're inside and that's the worst thing that happened.
Yeah.
She fell and slipped down. It's just crazy.
I remember the scariest one that I ever had was we were at the Louisville Zoo and
this Harambe story is old, Tom. I can't stop it. Okay? Please.
I have to top your story. Let me top your story. She was very like visibly pregnant and we were very like close because we had moved to Fort Knox and my wife and I when it was just us, we would go to zoos all the time. That was our thing. Like we'd go to the zoos and like our dog Anubis, who was my dog, and then she and I started dating and he became her dog. And then like he became our dog when we got married. But like, you know, that was it. Like it was us and that was it. Me and her and Anubis. And then anyways, we ended up moving to Fort Knox. And when we were there, she was very pregnant. Like she was like halfway through her pregnancy. And that summer we went to the Louisville Zoo. So we were like maybe a couple months from her giving birth. And all of a sudden she tripped at the zoo. And I was like, I was just fucking lost it, right? You know, I was like, let's drink some cold water, get the baby kicking. We got to make sure that he's okay. Because we had been trying to get pregnant for a very long time. And I had also been gone for 15 months when I was in Iraq or whatever. And we didn't have like, it was a very complicated
Why
situation.
were you in Iraq? Vacation?
Visiting some friends for 15 months.
Look, travel is really difficult sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
We were just going over last week how difficult things are for JetBlue passengers.
Well, yeah.
So I can only
they
imagine.
get beat up by Mike Tyson.
They get beat up by Mike Tyson and Bill O'Reilly screams at you if you work for them. So maybe that was how you ended up in Iraq. You were the first JetBlue Iraq.
JetBlue Iraq. There aren't any. That's why I don't fly anymore. Is because I had a bad landing in Iraq one time. That's like a lot of people ask me. They're like, "Why don't you fly anymore?" I'm like, "I don't fly anymore because I had a bad landing in an airplane one time. A rough landing where like we almost fucking ate shit. Like we literally almost died. It was like it was like, you know, you've got crash landing right here, and then like that sliver right above it is where we were, right? Like we barely landed on the wheels, right, and didn't die, right? Sheesh. So that's where I was, and I said I promised I would never fucking land. And they're like, "Well, what were you flying?" And I was like, "Well, it was a C-130, and we were in Iraq." They're like, "Oh, well, that doesn't count." I'm like, "Well, okay?" So if you ever land in a plane and it's like, I don't know, Southwest Airlines, and you're like, "Oh, we almost fucking crashed," and somebody says, "Well, that doesn't count as Southwest Airlines," right? You know, it's like I don't want to hear any of that shit because I was in an airplane that landed in a combat zone, and we had a bad landing where we all almost died. Like, don't tell me that doesn't count because Tom, I was very much in that plane that almost blew up. Right?
Listen, Tom, that sounds like the worst zone you could land in. However, I would I would venture to say landing in an auto zone would be worse.
Well, yeah, the prices there are way higher. I would rather land in O'Reilly's, but
That's
right.
right.
But we can't always be so lucky, right, Jerry?
Hey, listen, you have to take what you can get. When you're on your way to Iraq, you're just like, I can't believe that there's an auto zone. This is how helpful. Anyway,
Jerry, I
yes.
I hate to do this, but we're very close to being out of time.
I know.
What I want to do,
yeah.
What I want to do, Jerry, is all the things that you had planned to talk about last week. Is there any way we can do those in the next? I don't know. We can go a little over. I think that's fine. Yeah. But can we do some of that?
Yeah. So
I don't want to get too far behind. I'm okay with.
I'm not going to go too crazy. No. I listen. I have to. I'm slightly. I have a little bit of the. I was going to say I had the coof. I can't even just make a joke about that because it's so stupid.
Nobody has the coof.
No. I am a little bit ragged, a little bit run down. I don't know if it's like hay fever or something.
Jerry, are you like grateful that you got the vaccine and the 2 boosters?
I got 2, but I've got my 5th booster.
Are you thankful?
Yeah, see, Tom, I don't know if you know this. I got my 4th booster so I could get on the plane and get my 5th booster down in Australia. Because they have it first.
What did you say earlier about, like, what are these? Because it was Maxine Waters. She tested positive, and I sent you the link. I was like, hey, Maxine Waters, she tested positive, and you can 100. I bet if you would make $100 bet with anybody at any time, if somebody says, hey, Elizabeth Warren fucking tested positive for COVID, say, hey, I'll bet you $100 she said this.
Right.
I am thankful that I am vaccinated and that I have my 2 boosters. I bet you $100 she said exactly that. And you, Jerry, because I've noticed that. And then you made a point. You said, well, where are they saying this from, right? Because...
Yeah, like, where did this come from? Who is this for, is the question.
It's as if somebody calls them. It's as if as soon as Maxine Waters said, hey, I've tested positive for COVID, they send a message or a letter or a call in to the Congress or whatever. They say, hey, man, I tested positive for COVID. And it's as if somebody reaches out to them and says, how do you feel about being vaccinated and double boosted? How do you feel about that? Yeah. Would you say that you feel that you're glad that you were double vaccinated, double boosted? Would you say that that's an accurate depiction? Can you repeat that to me in that exact verbiage so that I can quote you? This is the MSNBC, by the way. This is also CNN Plus, right? Because we're still on the air for like 2 more weeks, right? Can you give me a sound bite? And and then of course you never hear these people saying, like, actually saying out loud, hey, I'm just glad to be vaccinated and double boosted. You just always see the text of them saying, Elizabeth Warren says, I am glad that I am vaccinated.
Jen Psaki said it. Right. Hillary Clinton said it. Obama said it.
Waters said it.
Maxine Waters said it. Yep. Everybody says it, and I'm sitting back after all this time. I have yet to hear
one of them say it. You know what I'm saying?
No. It's their press release, whatever it is, and it's just so funny because my question is, who is this for? It's not. It's magician. Tom, you must be able to kind of describe this better. And maybe we shouldn't even do this because we're supposed to at least get the whoopsie one in before the end.
A little bit. I don't care. I don't have anything going on tomorrow.
But, I just have to control myself. But
this is about you. Don't put it on me, Jerry.
Yeah, this is about me. The one, when people try magic, right? Isn't that like a hypnosis? You repeat the same words all the time. There's like a means of getting people into a psychosis or a hypnosis by repeating the same messaging. Yeah. And all that sort of, and the magicians use it, that kind of thing. I just have to wonder because it's so asinine and so backwards to everything that everybody's starting to realize. You understand what I'm saying? Like the Pfizer documents are coming out. 750 fucking Ugandan soccer players are dying and whatever it is, right?
How many did they have to start with? I wonder. That's
Believe it or not, 10. Then they overcorrected for some of the death. They lost half their team. And then now still, thank goodness they did.
Who knows where we'd be.
There'd be no Ugandan soccer at all. So all I could say is...
Can I say this about Ugandan soccer? I didn't realize they existed.
If I could say this about you, if I could say this about Ugandan soccer, it's that this COVID vaccine thing has really put them on the map. I had no idea. But I can't. It's this thing, right? Like it has to be. If people are like, oh no, it's not. We're not in the midst of a psyop. We're not in the midst of psychological and spiritual warfare. This, that, and the other. And it's like, well, then why are people using the same language? Let alone the 1984 up is down, removing.
You even said
language,
that, yeah. You were like, "What is
know.
this? Like, what are they telling their TV that like they're grateful?"
Yeah.
Like, what's up? With that?
Like the TV's in the room and they're still working out from in their gray jumpsuit.
Oh, yeah, they gotta exercise every morning.
Yeah, and then it's fun. They're just going, by the way, Constable Maxine Waters has gotten whatever, and it's just always that same one. Yes, thank God, 2 boosters, whatever. You know what I mean? Who is who? Like everybody, and the ironic part, of course, is that most people who would care quit Twitter, so they didn't get the message anyway. But so Tom.
Well, they're back now.
Oh, they are back. No, what I meant was oh, I'm sorry. You're looking at it from the opposite direction. The people who would care in the I'm going to put money on the death pool side. Those people who came back on Twitter. Yes, I'm talking about the people who would actually care like the people who would go, yes, I am also glad that I have the double vaccine and 2 boosters. I am like vaccine those people who this must be for. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the people who get back on Twitter and go, thank God that bitch is dead, whatever. That's
fuck
those people are
people,
back.
Jerry.
Yes. They're not nice people. Anyway, so to get in just a few minutes, Tom, we're gonna play the game.
Are we doing the
Mad
Libs?
Libs? We're doing the Whoobies and the Mad Libs that we've been doing about this. I think that's been a pretty good one. Here's the headline. Sheriff announces takedown of blank gang in Florida, gangs Florida hierarchy. So in other words, the sheriff announces the takedown of the Florida gangs hierarchy, and the gang's name is blank.
The 13th Street Gangsters, right? That's what they're called.
The E Street Band. All right. Anybody in the chat got an idea?
You just said it. This is a Bruce Springsteen song. Did you just say a Bruce Springsteen song?
Well, I said the E Street Band, but it's not. I promise you, it is not. It's not.
Well, I was thinking the 13th Street Gangsters, right? Because that's the Dave Chappelle, Cornwallis, right? That's that whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm. No, so the sheriff announces the takedown of sex, money, murder, hierarchy. So there was a gang out there, Tom. I just whoopsie. There's a gang out there called the Sex, Money, Murder Gang.
What sort of things were they into, Jerry?
Well, here's the thing, Tom. They took down the hierarchy, so now it's just murder.
They got rid of the sex and the money.
They got rid of the sex and the money, and now it's just murder, which is progress, but admitted.
You think they would have tackled like
the sheriff admitted they may have gone in the wrong direction.
You think they would have prioritized the gang's name?
You would think, if you see the three, it's sex, money, murder, you would say, well, let's start on the murder.
Yeah, that's like day one
they were
stuff.
like,
that's day one Academy stuff, right?
That's true. But then those police officers said, yes, but have you heard about how fun it is to track down sex and money? So that's...
I have heard how fun it is to track down sex and money. It's way less. Can you imagine like the guy who's like, hey man, I signed on to track down murder, right? Like this is the guy who like jacks off at crime scenes where there's chalk outline or whatever. Yeah, like he's like the guy. He's that one guy. Everybody else is like, hey, I'm here to conduct business, but this other guy's like, oh.
By the way, Tom.
But then there's like the other guys who like track down sex and money, and they're like, those guys are living life. Right?
Those guys, they've got gold chains on. They're high fiving each other. Everybody,
they're getting laid, right?
Yeah, they're getting laid, and they have a lot of money. Hello.
Well, naturally.
Tom, here's the crazy part, right? So they list in the article a number of things that they confiscated.
Sex and money, probably,
right.
among them.
Well, among them. And the money is where I want to ask you. Tom, if you were confiscating goods from a gang called the Sex Money Murder Gang, okay, how much money would you say you would confiscate? Because, again, I want to emphasize here, the sheriff said, we took down the hierarchy, which we've also noted is sex and money. So
murder's on the bottom, wrong.
Murder's on the bottom. So which, by the way, as far as priorities go, like as a gang, I mean, I wouldn't join.
I mean, murder is step one. Sex.
Yeah, I wouldn't join the murder, sex, money gang. You know,
I would join the sex money gang.
No, I said I would not join the murder, sex, money gang because then it's now I'm just
money
busy.
Gang. I might join the murder sex gang.
Okay.
Sex is like the cat. That's like the anchor, right? That's what's gonna get me on board.
Oh,
right?
I see. Right. Yeah. Well, okay. So they've taken down the hierarchy. Money is number 2. How much money do you think they confiscated?
Part of me wants it to be really high. Like the part of me who wants to join a sex money murder gang wants it to be really high. But like the part of me that's a little bit skeptical about like the accomplishments of gangs in modern America is also, and also like the realist version of me. I'm thinking it's, gosh, I want to say it's somewhere in the thousands. I would say probably the low thousands, maybe double digits, thousands.
Wow. Tom, can you put a number to it? I have to say.
Am I close? Am I on it?
I'm impressed. I want to hear. Listen, I don't want to give too much away because I don't want to influence your answer. Can you give me a number?
Am I going for closest without going over?
Yeah.
Like, because in that case, I'm going to say 10.5. But if I were to guess, I would say, sex money murder gang. These are people who value sex so much that they put it first, money second.
Yeah.
Murder last. Probably
Which
never
means that they
committed a murder.
also pay for sex when you think about it. So there's
probably
less money.
Never committed a murder in their life. Like probably most of their crimes are drug related, or sex related. Probably sex related.
Look, if I was making that much money in sex, I just wouldn't have gotten around to the murder myself.
Yeah,
okay?
Well, sex, money, murder. I mean, it's flashy, it's colorful. People like it. People want to hear about it. But I would say, man, part of me wants to say in the 20s, but part of me wants to also say, like, I want to give them a little bit of the benefit, and I want to say 30,000? Close? Am I close
Tom,
with 30,000? I'm going to go with 30,000, and I'm going to stick with it.
All right, Tom, here's the thing. I want to say to you, I was hoping, because I heard you say 10, and then I heard you say 30, and I thought you were going to say, well, I'll go right in the middle.
Oh,
and at that
it was
point,
20 after all. I did say 20, but
not
whatever.
Quite 20.
I get it.
$17,514.
I knew. You know what, Jerry? And here's the thing. Like, I knew it wasn't going to be high. Because if I knew it was going to be high, I would have said, triple digits. I might have even said 50,000. I knew it was going to be on the bottom end. Because sex, right? Sex sells, not money sells. Money doesn't sell, which is weird, right? You would think that like money would sell, but sex is what sells. So I knew that money wasn't their primary objective.
Right.
And if they could score $17,000, whatever, that's walking around. That's color picture money in the 90s, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So I get it. I gave them the benefit by saying 30.
Colorful names, by the way, of some of these people. Can I just say, as far as, because the mafia's not really,
Jerry, I'm sorry, Mike even said $28 in color film. I was trying to steal his joke. He stole his own joke back.
That's so funny. So, dude, Quandavise Street is the first member listed.
Is his last name Street?
Street is the last name, and the first name is Quandavise.
I doubt that. Now, I recognize that Street is a viable last name, but...
I will send you the article. Secondly,
I believe you. Anything that you say, Jerry, I just instinctively believe.
You're just assuming, yeah.
I have no reason to doubt you.
Artavius. That's another one.
Like a fake name.
There's also Laconia.
Hmm. Why don't any of these people have like white people names, Jerry?
Cremitia. I'm not. This is not okay.
Are their last names
C-R-A-M.
Goldstein, Leibowitz?
Yes, every single one of them actually is named Cohen. Can you believe it? This is weird.
But they're not related. Not like
No.
Distantly related, probably.
Right? Yeah. As the stars go, or whatever. Now I feel bad because I was just trying to make that a flimsy, like, oh, let me reference it a little bit, just as a.
But then you ended up becoming like an anti-Semite, full-blown.
Yeah, it just sounds so flippant. The fucking stars in the sky, you little.
Jerry, did you think when you joined on to this show that you would become an anti-Semite?
I had no idea. I had no idea what I was getting into.
But here
I was
you
like,
are,
I was like, I don't know. Are we gonna like make fun of John Podesta and talk about Bigfoot's dick or something?
Yeah,
sure.
Well,
but
among
you're
other
also
things,
gonna, yeah, you're also gonna do this. Okay. Customer angry about her order. Blanks 16-year-old girl working at blank. I'm not even gonna tell you the place. Not even going to tell you the place.
Say it again for me, Jerry, so I can write it down.
You got it. Customer angry about her order. Blanks 16-year-old girl working at blanks. Anybody in the chat, you can also throw out some guesses.
I didn't do a good job of writing that down, but I'm going to do my best.
Say it one more time.
Okay,
customer angry about her order. So there's a customer angry about the quality of her order. Okay. She blanks
worker.
A 16-year-old girl working at name of restaurant.
All right, Jerry.
Okay.
I'm going to work through this out loud. Customer angry about her order.
Right.
Blanks 16-year-old at blanks. I'm going to assume people, you've never, how many times have you heard a story, and I'm going to like logically work through this with you, Jerry. How many times have you ever heard a story of somebody being angry at somebody who's working at like Red Lobster? You don't.
No, you never do. No.
Or like Olive Garden. Certainly
at Gordon
not
Ramsay's restaurant, someone was furious over there. Yeah, doesn't really happen,
shit,
no.
Right? Like, and
not a lot of TGI Fridays either.
Right.
Somehow.
Like I'm giving like the high class of like the upper high class restaurants, right? Like we consider ourselves probably high class. I'm sorry, middle class, upper middle class. Like that's kind of where I
Plan B Burger Bar is an expensive night out.
Jerry, would you consider yourself also being somebody who is middle class / upper middle class? Would you consider yourself as that, or would you say upper?
I'd say no. Well, don't forget where I live too.
Yeah, you live in an area where like even like
people
where you're
in poverty make
automatically
6 figures. It's like
you're automatically like upper class, right? So like, but me in the Midwest, if I took my income,
what I meant to say was you have to do a correction for where I live, because I might tell you if I off air told you my household income, you might say, oh, well, for where I live, that is good
you
or
would be
bad
a millionaire where I live, right?
Right, but then I say to you, well, I also am down the street from X, so you could imagine that doesn't mean shit.
Right. And that's what's fucked up about
like
where like the current state of things. Like you make way more than I do. But I would say I live a little bit better than you do. Maybe. Just based on the size of my house. I would say...
No, I would absolutely agree with that. Because remember, you sent me a picture of a different house, and I said,
the house across the
wow,
street
that's a very incredibly nice house. Yeah.
Yeah, like, how the fuck do you afford... How does a scumbag like you... I think was your exact quote, was like, how does a scumbag like you...
I was like, how does a caped turnip like you...
How does an unemployed scumbag like you live in a place like that? So like the fact of the matter is like, but I would consider myself where I live, even where I live, to be middle class, upper middle class, one or the other. But I think that's like a kind of a safe bet, and I think you'd probably be in the same, maybe upper class, or I'm sorry, middle class, upper class,
middle,
upper class.
I'd say middle.
Okay, so we're
for
kind
my
of in the same area.
if you don't take me out of my area and put me in your area, then it's middle.
If you're in my area, brother, you are like everybody will look at you like you're like the Wizard of Oz, right? We'd be like, whoa, look at this rich motherfucker, right?
Like, wow, look at how many champion hoodies he has from Boscov's. Right. My goodness.
Right, because we here, we're arguing with our. How in the fuck did Mike in Manitoba guess that, of all things? So
son of a bitch. I think I might have mentioned it before.
You may have, but yeah. So like in my area, it doesn't take much. Even like the poorest of people coming from other places moving to Kentucky, northern Kentucky specifically, like you can live as a king among mere peons, right? It's almost like when you move, like as a poor person in America, you move to the Philippines, and all of a sudden you're like a rich motherfucker.
You're buying people.
You're like the richest person in the Philippines, right? I remember I bought a shit ton of money when I was in Iraq, like after the invasion, because I'm like, I'm gonna buy this new money, and like as it becomes more valuable,
as it gets rolling,
right? So I bought a fuck ton of that money, and like
did you guys know what Tom did with it? Opened up an AutoZone in his neighborhood.
What I did was I started a gang called the Dinar Money Gang.
Dinar Sex Dinar Murder.
Yeah, Dinar Sex and Murder Gang. But no, I ended up selling it, and I actually made a kill. I actually made like $500 off of that investment, but I didn't do anything with it. I literally sent that money home to my dad. And I told him, just put it in a safe somewhere. I don't need it, whatever. And then like a decade later, I'm like, hey, do you still have all that dinar? And he's like, yeah, here it is. Whatever. He gave it to me. And so then I ended up selling it to this guy, and I ended up making like $500, and I gave my kids each $100. I'm like, go fucking buy a bunch of toys or whatever you want. That's like $100 or whatever. Go nuts with it. And then I bought like a Nintendo Wii U or something. For myself, it ended up being for the boys. Anyways.
Well, Tom, now that we have established that you are very posh, can you lower yourself to answer the question, customer angry about her order?
Yeah, well, we're getting there. Jerry.
No, I know. I'm just saying we've already established it's clearly not at a place where you frequent because,
Because I don't shop at like what's it called? Jersey Mike's. Like I don't get my sandwiches in Jersey
That's
Mike's.
right. Yeah. Exactly.
Is that what you're asking? So, what I was saying is like for me,
I like how you're so intensely like you're going on about other things, and in the middle, you're coming close, and you're not looking at my facial reactions when you say these things. Like you just said Jersey Mike's, and I was like,
I can't. You're too wealthy. You're like you're like way wealthier than I am. But like you will never know because of our geographic discrepancy, right? The dichotomy of our geographic.
If you put
areas,
my
right?
income,
like your income is appropriate. It puts you at the same poverty level that I'm at.
That's right.
For my area,
you just happen to get a higher return. That's
right. It. Yeah. So customer angry about. Now my point was like Red Lobster and Olive Garden are kind of still classy for people like me. Is my point, right? But like in areas like yours,
no one's complaining when they're being mauled by free breadsticks.
Right? Yeah. Like nobody goes in there like, come on. Like,
all right, look, this wasn't top notch, but I am full of bread.
But the fucked up thing is, there are Red Lobsters where you live, I'm sure, and there are Olive Gardens where you live, and there are Red Lobsters and Olive Gardens where I live. And for me, in my area, where I have a super nice house, not to brag or anything, I have a very nice house. I love my house. We were very fortunate. We were very blessed to come upon this house that we have. Red Lobster and Olive Garden are kind of like still ritzy for us, right? Like that's kind of the thing where you like still wear a tie when you go, right? And you go and you show up and there's like the lobster tank and you're like, well, hello, sir, right? As you come into the lobsters. But whereas you're like, you spit in the lobster tank or whatever with your fancy, your fancy reaches.
I put my Drew Barrymore into the tank.
Right.
And,
yeah, you dip your Drew Barrymore nuts into your tank. So I would say, let me guess, because this is, I assume, something that transcends that. A customer angry about her order does something to a 16-year-old at some place. The 16-year-old can work there. I assume it's not a liquor store. I can write that off. I would say it's probably not a movie theater because you're not really like ordering anything in a movie theater.
Yeah.
Gosh, I want to say, and 16-year-olds. So it's a fast food restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a fancy restaurant.
No.
I want to say, and don't correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
I want to say it's America. So
Yes.
part of me, and a lot of you guys who are not from America, a lot of our Australian audience and a lot of our Canadian audience will not appreciate this, but we shoot motherfuckers for less, right?
Yeah,
so
that's
I
true.
would say that this individual shoots a 16-year-old. Her order shoots a 16-year-old at Sonic.
Wow.
Where am I at on that?
Tom,
Jerry
here
Dockery?
I'm so glad you're so close. I'm going to lay it out for you.
Please do.
All right. Customer angry about her order stabs
Oh,
a 16-year-old girl working at Jimmy John's.
man, it's
Close.
closer to doggone Jersey Mike's. I should have stuck
That's
with
why
that.
when you said it, I told you.
Oh.
I did this, and you were elsewhere. You were on another plane, and I was like,
yeah,
dude,
you're right.
Here's the thing, Tom. The woman stabbed her with a spork. Nothing was wrong. She got arrested for stabbing a woman with a spork.
Stupid. Have you ever tried to stab somebody with a spork, Jerry? You can't.
That's not real. No, you can't.
can't.
It's not real. It's not true. Although they did say they couldn't even. Here's the thing. They said she stabbed her with an edged weapon.
So what's
I'm like,
that?
judging by the.
There's a lot of
Well,
things.
I don't want to say anything because we have to keep our channel, but I'm like, judging by the person I'm staring at in this picture, I'm
She's
like,
Jewish?
no, yes, Jewish. And it could, let's just say it could just be her nails. You know what I
Oh, so she's black. Okay.
mean? Yeah. Tom, here, we're going to do one more, I think. Unless if we do it quickly, I'll do another
Stefika
one.
said Spitz and Wendy's, so she said that customer angry about her order.
That's very close.
Spitz on a worker at Wendy's might as well have been. I mean, like any of these things that we've said have like.
I've seen
been
people getting
realistic.
beaten with tire irons at a McDonald's, and I've also seen people get knocked unconscious for chicken running out at a Popeyes. So there's all kinds. Tom,
I had a friend, by the way. Let me tell you this, Jerry. I had a friend demand a picture. Well, friend / fan of the show demand a picture of Steficus's mom. Because no, hear me out.
Is that
Jerry.
true?
Hear me out. This is a true story. Because we talk about her so much, and the fucked up thing is this, Jerry. Like when this individual mentioned it, they were like, "I need to see a picture of this person's mom."
Yeah, sure.
I said, well, listen. Yeah, I try to like justify it, right? I tried to defend myself because I'm like, listen, you know, right? I had to distance myself from the thing, right? I'm like, hear me out. I am not
Excuse
trying,
me.
How dare you, right? I said, I'm not trying to like fuck Stefficus's mom. I'm not, okay?
Wow.
Because that would be disrespectful, right? When we talk about Stefficus's mom, we are coming from a position of respect and a position of, admiration. Yeah, like
it's
you
like
would Rita
it's
Hayworth,
like complimenting.
right? Yeah.
It's like, for rich people like us, when you go to let's say a boating dock.
Upper middle class to middle class, yeah.
Yeah, when you go to a boating dock near when you go to the boating dock near a Chili's and and you see quite a fancy boat, you say, "What a fancy boat," and you even seek out the person who owns the boat to say, "You know what, sir?
That is a fucking nice boat.
That's a nice fucking boat."
Yeah.
That's just how it works. So, yeah, Tom. Okay, search warrant finds enough blank to kill 32,000 people.
Oh, Jerry. Well, first of all, you're not even gonna let me like deal with the whole Stefficus's mom thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But
I'm sorry.
I could have gone on for ages because Stefficus's mom is a beautiful woman and clearly a mother to be admired, and like I can't stress that enough. Like she is a mother that anyone as a parent should admire because she's done an absolutely wonderful job raising children, such as Stephakus.
At least one. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like I can
else.
speak definitively about one who has gone on to be a, just the lovely, wonderful bride of a good friend of mine and yours, Megabit.
Yeah, and let's be honest here. It's one of those things where you can only make statements that are in your heart otherwise.
Yeah.
And she brought up spitting at someone at a Wendy's, and I'm honestly a little bit skeptical now of her past.
I know. Well, hold on, Jerry. Hold on. let me just like nip this one right in the bud, because I can tell you
excuse me. I think you mean to say nip it right in the bun.
I can tell you this, Jerry. I know that Stephakus's mom would never spit at.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. My headphones flew right off my head.
I'm just saying. Well, sorry. Unfortunately, you will never know what I had to say just now. I would know that. I will have this to say, that Stephakus's mother would never, under any circumstances, spit at another human being. That is so far below her. And
no, I was saying Stephakus.
Well, she would neither. She would never either, because I know her husband, and I know that her husband would only pick the cream of the crop, right? Ooh, the cream.
Well,
it always rises.
Well, Tom, I'm just saying, for our area, that could be the cream.
Somebody spits up somebody at Wendy's. Well, Jerry,
that's some. Listen, if we're middle class in our area,
you may be wealthier than I am, Jerry, but we don't spit on our Wendy's employees. We treat them with the utmost respect.
Well, then you and I have we're gonna have to just agree to disagree.
Jerry, one time I went to Sonic, and this is like the height of which we're still kind of at the height, right? Mm-hmm. We're at the height of like people just not showing up for work because of like the consequences that we warned people, like, hey, this is gonna create this situation in the future, and here we are. I fucking hate being right all the time, Jerry, but here we are.
It's infuriating, isn't it?
There are all these people who just didn't show up at Sonic, and there was like one dude who was working at Sonic, and I was so excited about going to Sonic, and we were gonna get some I don't remember, like buffalo wings.
I've never gone, by the way, never once.
It's okay. I mean, it's not great, but like at that moment we were like really interested in having some Sonic, and my kids were there, right? And I'm you're a dad, right? You never want to disappoint your kids.
I've heard.
Right. I'm there with my kids, and I'm like, we're going to go to Sonic. We're going to get some fucking slushies. We're going to get some ice cream, maybe, if you want ice cream. We're going to get some, maybe we'll get like a fucking big old cheeseburger. It's going to be awesome. We're going to get some chicken. We're going to get a hot dog if you want a hot dog with some bacon cheeseburger. Or a bacon cheese hot dog or whatever. It's going to be so great. But anyways, we show up there. And there's one guy apparently working in this entire Sonic, right?
Or some bitch, yeah.
And he's taking our order, and then in the middle of the order, he goes, "Hold on a second," like cool as a cucumber, right? He goes, "Hold on a second," and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, take your time." Like I get it. This some months ago, right? Like at the peak, right? And he goes, "I can't fucking do this anymore." It's like that was the end of the discussion, right? He's just like, because like there was a pause between everything that I ordered, and the dude was like trying to take it, but also trying to like run and work the fry later and work the cheeseburgers and work this and work that. But like he comes back and he's like, I can't fucking do this anymore, man. And he was like, that was it. And I'm like, hey, man,
dude, you put him over the top.
I get it.
You personally, you pushed him over the edge.
Maybe. I hadn't even ordered my food yet. I had ordered if anything, it was Sterling.
Your family caused a man to quit his career.
Sterling caused his breaking point.
That's it.
Because we ordered a Route 44 cherry limeade.
Dude, you were like, excuse me, we would like to have a milkshake, but can we have 2 straws? Because my kids, listen, we're trying to share. Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Hell no, I'm out of here. But that's what. Yeah, that dude is probably dead right now. We're laughing at a guy who's dead now.
Or maybe, wait, Tom. Let's put a little positive spin on it first. Maybe he's finally living. You know what I mean?
Sometimes that's what it takes. It's for somebody to order too many
Can I have 2 straws? What?
I
No.
got 2 straws.
You know?
I'm out of here. I'm fucking done with
That's
it.
it.
I'm over it. But like when I left, somebody else had already ordered and presumably already paid because like we went to, he was just like, I'm done with this. Like we pulled around and there was somebody at the window already. And you know, like the first thing they do is they like take your card, right? So like this dude has already paid. If I'm at the window, I'm making sure that my food, if they've already taken my card, certainly, that I'm making sure that my food is made. I'm like, hey, motherfucker, if you're going to bounce out of here, you're going to make my fucking food first, right? Because you've already scanned my card.
You just took my money, yeah.
Or you can give me, like, whatever's in the register. Like, I end up robbing the Sonic or whatever. All right, so
just give me enough money to go buy my
I'm going to go over to
kids.
Dairy Queen across the street, and I'm going to get ice cream and shit. So what did you say? There was something, somebody said something or another?
Oh, yes. So here's the last one. I'll get last one. Search warrant finds enough blank to kill 32,000 people.
So this is easy.
Okay.
I already know this one, Jerry. Because
you do?
I don't know how I ended up with the whoopsie on my screen. I ended up with the whoopsie, the toasty on my screen.
Well, I guess that would be I'm not on screen, so that's.
Well, I meant to like have it prepared for when you came.
Oh, I understand.
I didn't realize I don't know how OBS works and shit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jerry. So it's fentanyl is the answer.
Yes, it is. That's true. Since you knew it, I'm going to break down one more then.
Go ahead.
Alleged COVID fraudsters charged after raking in nearly blank amount of money through elaborate schemes.
Say that again for me. I'm guessing how much money they made. Right?
Yes, alleged COVID fraudsters charged in raking in nearly blank through elaborate schemes, and it's
Jerry,
an amount of money.
I'm gonna use a lifeline here.
Okay.
What explain to me what you mean by COVID fraudsters. Like, what did they do that they're COVID fraudsters? Like, what is that? Am I on their side or not? Is my question.
Healthcare fraudsters.
So these are people who made fake.
They did all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
So okay, so good dudes.
Very good dudes.
They made how much?
Yeah.
If I give you a letter, T, M or B.
Oh, M.
So it's M's?
Yeah.
Is it triple digit?
Yes.
Okay. I'd say 500 million. Final answer.
$150 million.
I almost guessed 100. 100.
But can I say,
it's
Tom,
so simple. Well, go ahead.
Do you want to know who the fraudsters are?
I would love to know more about what's going on with these. I'm more concerned with the fraudsters than I am with whatever they did with the fentanyl or whatever.
Tom, it's very easy. The fraudsters are the federal government.
Oh, man. Isn't that always the case, Jerry?
No, Tom, it's not. It was just a very good joke from a person who hates.
It might as well have been.
Yeah. Well, that's just it, right? I said it. And then you were like, "Oh, isn't it always?" And I'm like, "No, it wasn't actually, but it totally."
You tricked me. You duped me.
But it totally.
Son of a bitch.
But here, Tom. But it totally is, though, right? I mean, it's like under Koof, we had the largest redistribution of wealth in the history of this country.
Yeah, of eternity.
Right. And so when I say it, I'm really not like I'm not abiding by the name in the article. Like they're just mad at some guys who took advantage of a broken system. But the truth is, it was the government, and we all let it happen all the time. Yeah. / look at all the money that was just laundered to Ukraine for a war that's not really happening. Oh, wait, our show got deleted.
Isn't that something else, Jerry? Like if it were, listen, if I were the president of the United States, Jerry, and I was illegally funneling and laundering money through a country
Yeah.
And that was
You'd think you would choose one that's
and
not
that would,
the one I've already
hold
been.
on.
Yeah.
And that was discovered prior to me becoming the president of the United States. Don't you think?
And
I would have like chosen literally any other country in the entire world than the country that I was like discovered to have been laundering money through. Jerry, talk to me. Explain to me.
Yeah, you would
logic.
think like, okay, so Tom, if for example, there's a couple, right? And the wife keeps going out to one bar, and they continue, like the husband will go have to get her. You know what I mean? She's always at the bar, can't get her to come home on her own. And every single time he sees her on like some guy's lap, you know what I mean? Yeah. Something like that. Every single time. It's very well known right, that she's a floozy at this bar.
She's fucking all the other guys at the bar.
Right. You would think that after maybe the guy puts his foot down, he says, "Don't you ever cheat on me again," or whatever. You would think if she doesn't come home one night by the time she said she was gonna, he should not be able to drive up to the same bar and find
her like making out with some guy on the bar
That's
store.
Right.
Yeah.
He should have to go to a different, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's what we're talking about here. It's literally that obvious.
It blows my mind.
Yeah, it's incredible.
All my like, and I get it. Man, do I get it? You know, like I believe me.
Look, we've all been there. We've all wanted to launder millions of dollars. We've all been there.
I get it. Like I was. Here's the thing about me and Trump. Okay, here's my relationship with Trump. Let me come clean here. I let him get away with a lot of fucked up shit because it pissed people off, right? Yes. You know, like that was it. And I'm coming clean, right? Like I'm willing to come clean.
Dude, I'm even worse. I overlooked some shit at the time merely because of how he was on Twitter. I'm like, life is a joke. Or at least this part, you know, like this is all, you know what I mean? And if I can wake up and one day my president is telling the leader of North Korea that he has no dick,
fucking fatso,
that he's a fatso with no dick, and that and everybody else is like, this is gonna be World War III, and I'm like, if that's how this ends, that's the funniest fucking way this ended.
Yeah.
How did everybody die?
Donald Trump, a fucking TV show star.
A TV show star who has literally on camera wrestled people at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Got a hold of the free world, the keys to the free world, and then got on Twitter and said to North Korean, that he's
a big fat loser.
Literally Chow Yun Fat. That he is a big fat loser, and he will kick the shit out of him, or we'll bomb him into the Stone Age. I don't even remember everything he said.
Yeah, but it was like absurd, is what he said.
Yeah, it was this level absurd, you know, and it was like, well, okay, I mean, my point at that point was like, we're already down here. This is incredible. For being down here, this is the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
But here's the thing, Jerry. Like, that was the difference between those of us who were like... And I'm not asking you who you voted for. I don't expect you to tell that. Because you're, like, very, like, private and that thing. But I've made it very clear that, like, I was a huge Trump... I still am a Trump supporter because I think I like his brand. I think he's funny. I think, like, all that shit is cool or whatever. And I think, like, I'm part of that dark MAGA stuff. Like, that dark... you know, like, when you see that stuff that's, like, they're like, oh, these guys want Trump to come back and really just, like, fucking lay into these people and, like, punish everybody using his executive powers. Like, I'm that guy. I'm like, I think he should. I thought he should have done that in the first place, but whatever. Anyways, you know, you've got those people, and I'm one of them. But again, like, will I vote for Trump? If it's against Joe Biden, yeah, no doubt. But, you know, like, if it's against, in the primaries, I will obviously weigh my options or whatever. But, you know, man, I'm like... Donald Trump, man, like when he was the president, it was I understood that I was kind of like playing a dangerous game, right? You know, like I,
Right.
as a supporter of Donald Trump at the time, I was like, I'm playing a dangerous game because he's doing some fucked up stuff, right? But I'm like, well, I don't really give a fuck about any of these people. You know? Like, I don't care about the world at large. It's such a hot mess right now. If it were to end today, okay, that's fine. Like, I'm ready to go. You know, like, I'm totally ready to go. Me, my family, we're ready to go. If you want to start a nuclear war, brother, I am prepared to physically survive in the nuclear holocaust of post-apocalyptic America. Like, I'm totally prepared to be that guy. I know that most people aren't, right?
Right.
Like,
That's
all
also,
my
yeah.
shit, my preparedness is not in an area that would be affected by nuclear holocaust, right? So
That's
like
fair.
most people are not in that position that I am in. So I could give a fuck if all of a sudden Donald Trump is like, hey, fucking fatso, fucking North Korea, Kim Jong-un. You know, like, I don't care because I'm prepared for that. I have prepared myself to lead my family through that process, right?
Yeah, I remember you saying to me specifically, Jerry, if this happens, I am absolutely prepared to get my family to whatever Asian buffet that I can.
We can live forever
And
on
live
an Asian
forever.
buffet.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, Jerry, is you started saying that, and I'm like, I'm curious to hear what I said, because sometimes I say some shit, and I'm just like, you know, whatever, I'm just being supportive. But no, like, I have mentally prepared for this sort of event. And I know that I will be all right. I know that I and my family will be all right. And I, as the patriarch of my family, we will be all right. And I will do what it takes to ensure my family's safety. I know that that is not the case of many of my neighbors. And
That's true.
know that I will take
specifically
advantage.
once you release the bats.
Yeah, right. Well, they'll be on their own at that point.
Right.
But I know that I will go and I will take advantage of the fact that my neighbors, some of my neighbors, voted for Joe Biden. And they believed that the problem was Donald Trump tweeting at Kim Jong-un, calling him a fat fuck. Right? You know, like, I know which neighbors I'm going to go ahead, and as soon as the fallout drops, I'm going to go out and I'm going to loot, right? I'm going to live like a king, and I'm going to take over, Jerry. I'm going to take over this homeowners association. And I'm going to allow Liberty Crossing to once again rise from the ashes. And they are going to have chickens in their backyards, Jerry, right? And like, I know that as president of the Liberty Crossing, I will make that happen. So, Jerry,
that's fantastic.
On November the 7th, November the 8th, I need you to remember that I, Thomas Miller, have your interest in heart, Jerry. And if you want to have chickens in this neighborhood, the only way that's going to happen is with me. Okay.
Right.
Jerry. So with that being said, Jerry, do you have anything that you have to shill this week?
I don't. I mean, it's always the same old stuff. But Tom, I just want to tell you, and the people out there watching, first of all, thank you all. And secondly, follow your dreams, because sometimes they do come true. Last thing, for example, a man who said he wasn't going to go back to jail and the police would have to shoot him was killed by officers.
Well, then he just like...
It's a self-fulfilling... Listen, what I'm trying to say, Tom...
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
You verbalize... Like, you put it out in the open, you verbalize it, that brings things... You know what I'm saying? That puts things in motion. We don't believe that, but it's true. If you put it in your heart and then you put it out to the world, the world will bring it back in kind. So, for example, Tom should take note of this hero here who said, "I'm not going back to jail. Y'all are going to have to kill me," and they did. And keep saying, "I'm going to release the bats, loot like crazy, and bring chickens to my HOA.
Well, Jerry, I hate that we didn't. Yeah, I hate that we didn't get a chance to talk about this week. But I'm sure most of the people who are true fans of the show know what's going on.
I'm sure they do, but I feel like there's going to be a moment in time where we could get like I feel like there's going to be an update somewhere.
Jerry, I guess we'll have to talk about this next week. The thing I love about this show, like while I'm finishing my seminary degree of all things, right, is that we've just been able to just do whatever the fuck we want.
That's right.
And then the HOA has become a thing, and I'm so proud of our thing. Turned his backyard into a backyard, and the Ho Owners Association president. That makes it's so funny to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Anyway, any guy who's like, "You'll never take me alive," and then like is not taken alive, like that man has earned my respect, right? So like
Right.
That's kind of the guy that I am. I will never go to jail. That's the thing, and you can bank on that, Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
I will never go to jail, and I have made this clear to you at whatever. And I love the police. I understand that they have a job to do, but brother, if you come to get me, make sure that you make peace with your God before you do. Make sure that you kiss your children and your wife goodbye before you do. That's not a threat. That's a reality. That's not a threat, Jerry. That's a fucking reality check. Okay.
I hear you. It's not a threat when you're just actually informed. It's information, really.
Yeah, I'm just telling you what the thing is. It's so funny.
That's all.
My HOA. This is the one thing I will say about our HOA joke was the HOA, and it's so funny, and I want to talk about it because it's such a funny joke.
I know you
because
do.
she said, I don't appreciate being threatened because I threatened her. I threatened my HOA lady. I'll admit it. I threatened my HOA lady because I said, if this is the route that you want to take, I am about to make the biggest fucking scene that the HOA has ever experienced in my life. And I don't remember if I sent you the email traffic, Jerry, but I know I sent you the pictures or the screenshots or whatever. But I said, I'm about to make the biggest fucking scene that the HOA has ever experienced. And she said to me, her words were, I don't appreciate being threatened. And like in that moment when I read that, I was like, that is the dumbest thing that you can say to anybody.
What a bitch
ever,
move.
Right?
You know?
Like imagine this, Jerry. If you threatened me and I said, I don't appreciate being threatened, what would you say to that? You would say, I don't give a fuck because I threatened you.
It already happened. You could not appreciate it, but
I am trying to make clear to you that that I am a threatening person, right? Like you should be threatened by me. So like when somebody says, I don't appreciate being threatened, be like, that's why I fucking threatened you. Yeah. Because I know that nobody throughout the history of humanity has ever appreciated being threatened. That's why I threatened you, you stupid bitch, right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like the attitude that I had when she's like, I don't appreciate being threatened. I'd be like, that's why I threatened you. Yeah, because I knew that you wouldn't appreciate it. If I wanted your appreciation, I would have said, "Hey man, I get that your job is difficult." Like if I wanted your appreciation, I would have said something kind about you. But instead, I let you know the reality of the situation that you were about to enter into and the lengths to which I am willing to go in order to fucking destroy you. Because you won't let me have 4 fucking chickens on my property.
Unreal.
You would rather do this, and we're going to talk about this next week. We will talk about it in its entirety next week. I promise you.
I can't wait. Can't wait. Yeah, and by the way, I know we have to go.
Please.
Right? But I would just love to... You remember that? I would just love if there was like some part of history where someone said, well, no, actually, Tom, there was that one moment where someone got viciously threatened and they said, oh, thank God, I needed that.
What a refreshing moment. Thank you, John Wilkes Booth.
There are some days where you don't know if you're alive or dead, and you just brought me back to life. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that, John.
Yeah, I appreciate it very much.
Fucking Abraham Lincoln gets smoked. No, it's Lee Harvey Oswald. He wrote a letter to Abraham Lincoln saying, dear Abraham Lincoln, this is not a promise, this is a threat. On the day of November 22nd, 1963, while you are driving through the court square, I am going to smoke you, like, with an Italian rifle from the book suppository building. The book depository building. The book depository building.
Suppository is fine.
Suppository, either one. Either one is fine. It's because of that joke from Full Metal Jacket, right? It fucked me up. This book depository building. I'm going to smoke you while you're driving through your Lincoln Continental. Love, Lee Harvey Oswald. And Abraham Lincoln, or I'm sorry, gosh dang, JFK. He opens that letter and he's like, thank God. That's what I needed today. Jackie O has been a real bitch, and like, my boy, who was his vice president at the time? The fucking
Johnson.
Racist.
Johnson.
Yeah, Lyndon Baines Johnson. Yeah, he's been really difficult about this, this Senate legislation that's coming through. Man, I really just needed some kind of threat to bring me out of this depression that I was in. Thank you, Lee Harvey. And then a couple days later, he ends up getting smoked in the middle of
those days. Could you imagine one of those self-help commercials? Those days where you just get bogged down on minutia and it drains your very soul. We here at Threaten Your Ass will have a super team to send out phone calls, emails, and personal appearances to make you feel incredibly uncomfortable and give you a jolt, recognizing that you are a live person who may die someday.
Threaten Your Ass.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's a good business. We should maybe look into it.
We should pitch that to I don't know who is
we'll
like
do it
taking
at
pitch
Tank.
offers or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, we should definitely pitch it. I thought of it as like a medication. Threaten Your Ass. That's one of those commercials where like people like threaten your ass may result.
Oh yeah, here's the side
getting
effects.
Smoked while you're driving through a center square.
If not taken seriously, you may get smoked in downtown Dallas.
Oh, Jerry. Okay, you've already shilled. I don't have anything to shill. If you buy the Redbubble shit or whatever, I don't know, man. Like,
yeah.
I feel like there's some stuff on the horizon. I feel like there should be. Like, I think about this while I'm out mowing my lawn, not while I'm drinking. Like I mow my lawn sober, completely sober. And I think of these awesome ideas, like things that are so cool for this show. But like, I love the fact that our show is very like niche. Like we're very like we have just like the few fans that we have, and like the people who like our show are like people who relate to us or whatever. I don't ever want to be that guy who's like, we're catering to somebody who's not our niche audience or whatever.
I wouldn't know how,
Yeah, like I don't like a lot. Like we'd have to be like full blown right wing Nazi anti-Semites, or you have to like
you'd have to
find one side.
Yeah, you'd have to find your own niche but then also like a new niche, because that's where you get people, you get this uber obsessed people kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like you can't, like if you did say we were the new dark MAGA podcast, then we would have to do like
then we have to cater to that audience, right?
Yes, every show it would have to be some community, and then we'd have to make up a Q type thing to add drama, and that we had the inside scoop there. We would have to do live appearances at some kind of rally or something. Yeah. It's a lot more work than just being able to sit here and go, all right, look, could you imagine if we made a pill that
called you fucked it all or whatever. Threaten your ass.
Something about your ass. Threaten your ass. Yeah, we made a pill about threatening your ass, and when you take it, if you don't take it seriously, you could end up dead in downtown Dallas. Also, we're watching Predator shows, and we're concerned that the very liberal ones will get away with it because they'll have a Ukraine flag and a BLM dildo in their pictures while they're wearing masks, sending dick pics, and so on and so on. These, and then I don't want to spoil what we're talking about next week. This is why I'm not giving you your story the credit it will deserve once we give it.
Hopefully by then we'll have some stuff going on.
A bit more meat. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for. Because listen, I love fighting the man, and there is no more like deserving man to be fought than the HOA.
Jerry, can I ask you this? This is the most important question I think we'll have to deal with this on this episode.
Okay.
Where in the fuck are you right now?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm in bed.
Is this the Google headquarters?
Right? Oh, you mean my background? Oh, I thought we were going back to I sleep in the basement again. That was
no, not your bedroom. I want to know where you are.
I'm sorry.
Like, what's going on?
I don't know. I just saw it and I said, this is the most creative, weird thing. I thought it was probably some Illuminati shit and some, someone will happen to pop.
Like, I see those bleachers to the right and left of you, and I'm thinking Google headquarters because I've seen the movie The Internship with Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn. But I'm also seeing some stuff in the background that's making me think of like the Star Wars prequels. Mm-hmm. Like it almost seems like you're there in the Senate.
Let's see here. Googleplex architect says places like this are dangerous. All right, that's very nice.
True, that's true. I wouldn't find myself there, I don't imagine.
That's weird. See, I'm finding a lot of straight lines here, Tom, when I'm looking up Google. But I'm not. I wish I could provide something to go along with what you're saying exactly. I don't know.
Jerry, you know what it looks like to me? It looks a little bit like, now I don't know if you've ever watched that show Loki. Remember when Loki he's kind of in that super miniature universe, as we find out, spoiler alert, is part of the Ant-Man multi-miniverse, right?
Yes.
That metropolitan area in which that they live in, it looks a little bit like that might be where Owen Wilson lives.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You see what I'm talking about?
I can see what you're saying. Yes, I do. I know what you're saying. Huh.
Is that where you are right now, Jerry?
Yes, I am.
You're in the multiverse. I'm in the
multiverse. I'm in a mini multiverse where I somehow also have to sleep in a chair.
Oh, Jerry. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you guys tuning in for all this time. Thank you guys for who has stuck through this entire time. We appreciate having you. It's always fun. I wish we would have gotten into the HOA discussion, as our names have had little to do with what we talked about these last several times. But whatever. Next week we are going to talk about definitively my debate, my fight with the HOA, and I hope that we'll see you then. Until then, I will see you on the other side. Jerry and I thank you for tuning in this long. Thank you.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.